a soul declares its nature, a reincarnator, thrust into a fantasy world of swords and magic. To save this world, a decision was made. This resolve is set against a perilous scene where cloaked assassins descend upon a terrified young woman in a religious bonnet. Before the assassins can strike, a blinding flash of ice magic erupts, shattering their forms. The source of this power, a young man with white hair, internally admits his own confusion about the situation, even as the young woman and a surviving attacker stare in disbelief. He stands before the now safe woman, casually running a hand through his hair. He muses that one shouldn't bully girls, but immediately chastises himself. He had broken his most important rule: never draw attention to himself. His caution stems from the nature of this world, which is the setting of a popular dating action RPG called Criana Fantasy. The game, set in the Criana Royal Academy, allowed players to enjoy battle action while also pursuing romantic routes with various heroines, such as the very girl he just saved, Celia. A player's actions could change the story, but one character, Alba, was always an obstacle. No matter which path a player chose, they would inevitably be opposed by Alba Iricia. He was characterized in the game as an elite, the son of a duke, strong, arrogant, a self-indulgent womanizer with a short temper. He was designed to be the ultimate villain, the protagonist's destined enemy. Yet, the current Alba Iricia, the so-called delinquent son of a duke, is now living a quiet life in a rustic cabin deep in the mountains. He greets the dawn with a contented sigh, welcoming another wonderful morning. His days pass in peaceful labor, tilling the soil as birds fly overhead. Wiping sweat from his brow, he reflects on the passage of time, realizing it has already been 3 years since he was reincarnated as Alba. He remembers the moment it happened. He had suddenly found himself inside the opulent Duke Iricia's mansion, completely disoriented. He didn't recognize the lavish surroundings, nor the face of the young aristocrat staring back at him from the mirror. Then, a memory surfaced, the memory of a certain game. The memories of that game's plot came flooding back. He recalled the villainous Alba cornering the saint, Celia, hissing her name and declaring that she was his to treat as he pleased. He remembered Alba's prescribed role, sometimes a rival, stealing the heroine from the game's protagonist, and at other times, a direct antagonist causing widespread destruction. He recalled the grim trajectory of his character's life, a path where he is inevitably corrupted by evil, ultimately becoming the destroyer of the Academy. In this fated future, he would stand defiant, vowing to crush both his adversary and the institution itself. Regardless of the path taken, be it a demonic transformation to destroy everything, a tyrannical seizure of his family's town, or a misguided attempt to steal treasure under the guise of heroism, the outcome remained the same. This knowledge stemmed from a past life, where he had played the very game he now inhabited. Though his memory of every route was hazy, he vividly recalled the character of Alba Iricia, recognizing him as the game's ultimate villain. The horrifying realization struck him shortly after his rebirth. Staring at his own young face, he questioned the impossible. Had he truly been reborn as Alba? His confused mind could only arrive at one dreadful conclusion. The weight of this truth was crushing. In the world of Criana Fantasy, the villain Alba Iricia was guaranteed to die. It was an unavoidable death flag. No matter the route, no matter the choices made, his destiny was to be confronted by the game's protagonist and heroine, who would inevitably cut him down to end his villainy. He refused to accept such a fate. The thought of being reincarnated without understanding why, only to passively wait for his own demise, filled him with a seething rage. His anger hardened into resolve. If that was to be his fate, then he had to take action. And so, he ran, slipping away from his family's estate under the cover of darkness. He took with him all the valuables he could carry. He reasoned that selling them would be enough to live a quiet life in the countryside. He could not simply sit around and wait to die. His goal was to survive, and that meant escaping his destiny. 3 years passed since that night. He had dyed and cut his hair, bought a small cottage in the mountains, and settled into a quiet life of retirement and work. It was inconvenient compared to his past life, but as he stood under the open sky, he felt a profound sense of peace. He was alive. He greets a young woman, who apologizes for being late with a cheerful smile. As she wishes him a good morning, he reflects that the goddess of destiny in this world seems unwilling to let him go so easily. This is Celia Margaret. She excitedly holds up a letter, announcing its arrival. Wary, he tells her that if it's about his debt, she should just eat it. He knows full well that in the world of the game, she is one of the potential love interests. Her cheeks flush with indignation at his bizarre suggestion. Pointing a finger at him, she protests that she is not a goat. Her earnest reaction makes him laugh. He apologizes for the joke, reaching out to pat her gently on the head. Celia turns away with a pout, though she seems to accept the gesture. As she closes her eyes, enjoying the moment, his expression turns serious. He knows, with grim certainty, that he should not get involved with this girl. Standing together before his secluded home, he understands the risk she represents. She is one of the people who could activate a death flag, setting him on the path to his predetermined demise. Celia is the saintess, a servant of this world's goddess. She is a famous and rare individual, blessed with the grace to heal and predict disasters. The reason such a prominent figure is involved with him is a story that began half a year ago. He continues his quiet life, tending to his garden. He muses that it's likely because this world is the same as the game that he is so familiar with the local vegetables, a fact for which he is grateful. While shopping, he considers his initial worry that the Aricia family might have started a search for him. His thoughts are interrupted by the chatter of local women, who gossip that the nasty son of the Aricia family has died, bringing peace to the town. The news is a welcome, if morbid, relief. He works the land under the open sky, a simple farmer tending to his crops. With a hoe in hand, he moves with a practiced ease, the picture of a man content with his quiet, secluded life. His peaceful labor is abruptly cut short by a faint sound carried on the wind. He pauses, looking up towards the distant mountains, a flicker of concern on his face as he tries to place the sound. A scream. In a dark forest, the source of the scream becomes clear. A masked figure, clad in a dark cloak, cries out as they are cut down by a swift, unseen assailant. The aftermath of the brief struggle reveals Celia, standing frozen amidst several fallen assassins. Before she can process the scene, a new group of hooded figures emerges from the trees, their blades drawn and ready. Surrounded, she clasps her hands to her mouth in terror. The blades of her attackers glint in the dim light, leaving her with no path of escape. She whispers in disbelief, realizing the grim finality of her situation. One of the assassins lunges forward, a curved blade raised high for a killing blow. Celia can only watch, paralyzed by fear, letting out a desperate cry. Suddenly, a powerful force erupts from the ground directly in the assassin's path, blasting him and his comrades away. Celia, caught in the shockwave, stares in wide-eyed confusion, trying to comprehend what just happened. From the dust and chaos, Alba emerges, stepping calmly over the incapacitated bodies of the assassins. He casually brushes his hair back, his gaze fixed on the attackers as he states plainly that they shouldn't make girls cry. His arrival causes a stir. One of the assassins, recognizing him, shouts in astonishment, questioning where he has been. Celia looks on, bewildered by the exchange, while Alba himself appears surprised to have been identified. In that moment, a memory surfaces in his mind, the destroyer of the academy declaring his intent to claim the saintess. The pieces click into place. He realizes with a jolt that Celia is one of them, one of the heroines. He ran a hand through his hair, groaning in frustration. The entire reason he had isolated himself in the mountains was to avoid this exact situation, getting involved with one of the main characters tied to a death flag. As he stewed in his thoughts, Celia timidly tried to get his attention. Before she could speak, several hooded assassins dropped from the trees, surrounding them. Celia cried out in terror, urging him to run. From an unknown vantage point, a mysterious woman observed the scene with a smirk, noting that it seemed the goddess of destiny would not allow Alba to escape his fate. His expression hardened. Resigned, he acknowledged that since contact had been made, it couldn't be helped. A powerful energy crackled around his hand before erupting outwards in a massive, destructive wave, blasting the assassins away from them. The sudden display of power left Celia speechless, wondering how he had defeated all the assassins in a single blue flash. Clenching his fist, Alba reflected on his time in isolation, revealing to himself that he had trained every day to understand and wield this world's magic. He stared ahead, his eyes burning with resolve. No matter what kind of death awaited him, he vowed that he would resist it with all of his might. With the immediate threat neutralized, he turned to Celia and asked if she was all right, though he quickly realized the answer was obvious. Of course, she wasn't. The ground around them was littered with the still forms of the defeated assassins, their bodies lying amidst a dense web of score marks carved into the earth by his attack. The ordeal proved to be too much for Celia. She fell to her knees, casting her bonnet aside as she cried out in despair. "I can't take this anymore." Her composure shattered, and the thought she had repressed for so long finally overflowed. She explained that while it was her duty as the saintess to travel the land on a pilgrimage, this latest attack was the final straw. Someone, it seemed, was always targeting her. She elaborated on the burden of her station. As the saintess, she holds the second most powerful position in the Church of the Goddess, subordinate only to the Pope. Because of this, she's constantly attacked by those who want to use her, steal her power, or who simply see her as an obstacle to their own ambitions. Her tears fell onto the grass as Alba watched, his expression hardening. He reflected that if he were merely observing this scene as a story, he would dismiss it as simple backstory. But seeing this young woman crying so desperately right in front of him left him with no choice. She cried out that she just wanted a normal life, that she didn't want to be scared or do anything anymore. This was her reality. As Alba listened, he knew with certainty that those tears were not fabricated. His resolve set, he walked over to where Celia knelt in the clearing. He gently placed a hand on her head, startling her. Crouching down to meet her gaze, he let out a soft sigh. He then broke into a wide, reassuring smile, his entire demeanor changing from stoic to welcoming. "Want to come to my house?" he asked kindly. She looked up, her tear-streaked face filled with disbelief and confusion. His hand still rested on her head as she stammered, "Huh? Your house?" Her mind raced. She didn't truly understand her own situation, but she knew one thing. This wasn't a game character she was dealing with. She could tell he had been working hard, and a thought bloomed. Perhaps it was okay for her to rest after everything she had done. The realization struck her with profound clarity. From his words, she felt that he saw her as a human, just like him. Resting enough to smile was far more important than working so hard that she cried. He stood up and extended a hand to her. He knew what she wished for, he explained. If her destiny was only to make her cry, then she could just run away. And if she had nowhere to run, he offered, then she could run away with him, just like he had. Her eyes widened with hope. Yes, please, she whispered, reaching for his hand. Let me go with you. Internally, Alba acknowledged that he shouldn't get close to someone so connected to his own fated troubles, but he made an exception. He watched her take his hand, a memory surfacing of a sunlit valley. He couldn't help it. He wanted to see her with a smile rather than crying. In that memory, they introduced themselves for the first time. I'm Celia Margaret, she had said. I'm Alba. You could just call me Alba, Celia. He watches her, thinking to himself that a smile suits her much better than tears. Celia's face is alight with joy, her cheeks flushed as she clutches a letter. After her mood has brightened considerably, he learns that she has received a reply to the letter she sent to her father, the Pope. He asks what it says, but Celia offers no response. Instead of answering, she suddenly closes the distance between them, wrapping her arms around him in a tight embrace. Looking up into his eyes, she asks earnestly if he will stay with her. He replies with a confident grin, assuring her that of course he will. He declares that since he saved her, he is now responsible for her until the very end. Overjoyed, Celia simply breathes his name. Her happiness bubbling over, she excitedly presents the source of her good mood, a pamphlet for Criana Academy, which she explains is the setting for a story called Criana Fantasy. The name strikes Alba with dread. In his mind, the academy is not a place of learning, but an executioner's block, a stage overflowing with the signs of his own fated death, populated by ominous figures. Unaware of his dark thoughts, Celia exclaims with pure delight that she wants to go to that very place. Alba internally wrestles with this. He knows he should probably take her to her father, but feels that since he caused her to run away, he must see this through with her. He decides they should go together. She continues, her eyes sparkling with hope, telling him that if he comes with her, she'll have the best school life ever. Hearing her earnest plea, a gentle, determined smile forms on. The stage is set at Criana Academy, an institution managed directly by the Criana Kingdom. It educates promising nobles, commoners, and even non-humans. Within this world, one of the key figures is Alba Iricia, the unruly son of a duke. No matter the path taken, he is destined to be the ultimate villain, an obstacle in the protagonist's way who invariably meets his end. He, however, has been reincarnated as that very villain. To escape this doomed fate, he has resolved to avoid all the death flags he can. This led him to stay far away from the main characters and the central setting of the story, living a quiet life in the mountains. Despite his best efforts, a horse-drawn carriage now travels through the city streets, heading directly towards the Grand Academy in the distance. Inside, his companion, Celia, excitedly points out the window, marveling at the size of Criana Academy. Alba can only manage a strained agreement, internally lamenting that he ended up coming here anyway. She turns to him with concern, asking if he's all right and noting his pale complexion. He dismisses it as just a bit of carriage sickness. He thanks her for the offer when she suggests he could use her lap as a pillow. As he does, he reflects on the fact that this girl, Celia Margaret, is completely unaware of the situation. She doesn't know about the death flags awaiting him at the academy, nor how they relate to the story's heroines. After all, Celia herself is one of them. He questions why he is now traveling to the academy with her, his mind flashing back to his quiet home in the mountains. The reason becomes clear. Back at his home, Celia had explained that she received a letter from her father, and that there was something inside addressed to him. He had been confused, wondering why it would be for him. Celia's father is no ordinary man. He is the founder of the most popular religion in the world, the Goddess Church, and his power and authority rival even that of the king of Criana. He recalls his apprehension while reading the letter. He had been sheltering Celia due to her circumstances, and he feared the message would be an angry threat. Indeed, the letter contained a furious declaration from her father, vowing to use all his power to call down divine punishment upon him. He held the letter, his expression turning from apprehension to focused intensity as he read. Beside him, Celia Margaret watched with quiet curiosity. The message, far from the threat he had anticipated, was filled instead with apologies and profound gratitude. In the letter, Celia's father explained her circumstances. She is the saintess not merely by lineage, but because she was born with the grace of the goddess and miraculous powers. From the moment of her birth, her fate was sealed, destined for a life devoted to the goddess's teachings. Ever since she was old enough to be aware of her surroundings, she had been traveling to visit the faithful, her life a constant pilgrimage. No matter how harsh or perilous the journey became, she never faltered in her duties. Her father recalled how he had once felt grateful to hear his young daughter say, with a smile, that it was simply the duty of one born a saint. But he confessed his foolishness admitting with deep regret that he never realized her smile was just a mask to hide her true feelings. The letter then recounted the moment Alba had found her, kneeling and alone, and offered her a place to stay. With overwhelming emotion, the father expressed his deepest gratitude to Alba. He acknowledged that while he is the founder and Celia is the saintess, Alba had saved not only his daughter's life, but her very soul. As her father, he now wished to fulfill his beloved daughter's desire for a normal life. He pleaded with Alba to support her in this, to go with her to the academy, and to laugh at the foolishness of an old sinner. He looked at her with a gentle smile, promising that he wouldn't laugh at her father's earnest plea. In response, Celia became flustered, asking what was wrong. She quickly affirmed that her father is a wonderful man before turning to Alba with a formal, if somewhat awkward, request. Her request, echoing her father's letter, was for him to attend the Criana Academy alongside her. The academy's crest, a winged sword, symbolized its prestige. He recalled the details from the letter. The Criana Academy was described as a gathering place for talented individuals faithful to the goddess, with an education unmatched by any other institution. The father's hope was clear, that Celia could live the life she wished for there, with Alba by her side. The man's reasoning was sound. His mind would be at ease knowing someone as strong as Alba, who had single-handedly defeated assassins, was protecting his daughter. Furthermore, the letter expressed certainty that Celia herself wished for Alba to stay with her. As he stood there, lost in thought, Celia's voice cut through his contemplation. She told him it was okay, causing him to look up in confusion. She clarified that she didn't mind going to the academy alone, offering a sweet, reassuring smile. However, Alba immediately perceived that her smile was a facade, skillfully hiding her true feelings. Seeing through her pretense, he decided to challenge her, describing the academy as a scary place filled with many bad people eager to assert their dominance. Celia reacted with surprise. Her shocked expression confirmed his suspicion. He pressed further, shouting at her, demanding to know if she still truly wanted to go. His intense questioning left Celia stammering, though she quickly recovered, insisting with a hopeful smile that she was sure to make friends at the academy. She brushed aside his warning about the potential exhaustion of an unfamiliar place, declaring with bright-eyed determination that she was excited to go somewhere new. Her genuine enthusiasm seemed to settle the matter, and they exchanged soft, understanding smiles. This sealed his decision. He acknowledged the logical path, to stay away from the academy and from her to avoid the dangers he foresaw. Yet he resolved in that moment to rebel against that fate, to face the death flags head-on. His resolve was cemented by a simple truth. A smile suited Celia far better than a frown. And so, he agreed. When Celia later asked what changed his mind, he simply laughed it off, saying he was looking forward to it. His private thoughts, however, were grim as he read the letter from her father. He sarcastically thanked Celia's goddess for guiding him toward his death, a chilling realization dawning on him that this same deity might have brought him to this world in the first place. The letter's postscript contained a final, fatherly command, written with furious intensity. Don't you dare make my daughter cry. With the decision made and the threat received, they journeyed to their destination. And thus, Alba and Celia arrived at Criana Academy, joining the stream of other students on the path. They stopped, gazing up at the main building with wide-eyed wonder, both remarking on its incredible size. The academy was a sprawling castle of towers and spires, looming over them. To Alba, the sight was overwhelming. It was far more imposing in person than he had ever perceived it through a screen. The path leading to the entrance was lined with impressive stone statues, a stoic knight gripping a great sword, a serene angel with feathered wings, and a proud bust of a unicorn. As they walk the academy grounds, Celia excitedly points out the various statues, one of the goddess, another of the hero, and even one of the holy beast that protects maidens. She turns to Alba, asking if it isn't all wonderful. He, however, is lost in thought, a nagging feeling telling him that each statue is tied to a different event in the game, though the specifics frustratingly elude him. He reaffirms his strategy internally. To avoid the death flags associated with his true name, Celia's father, the Pope, has provided him with a new identity, Al, the Holy Knight Apprentice. He laughs aloud, remarking on the fearsome power of the Academy's founder. Celia reassures him, confident that her father would crush any trouble they might encounter. She then expresses her shock, finding it hard to believe he was a runaway treated as dead by his own family. Alba simply laughs in agreement, admitting it's hard for him to believe as well. His light-hearted demeanor fades as he internally curses his fuzzy memory of the game, stealing his resolve to avoid any related dangers. Just then, their conversation is interrupted by murmurs from a growing crowd of students. They've recognized Celia, exclaiming in awe that she is the real saintess. The students immediately swarm them. Cries erupt from the crowd, with people begging to shake her hand, asking to be friends, and confirming if she's a new student. Alba realizes with dread that this is the exact situation he feared. In this world, Celia is a superstar, and she is visibly overwhelmed by the sudden onslaught. She is completely engulfed, hands reaching for her from all directions as the title saintess echoes around her. Overwhelmed and flustered, she can only stammer, unable to form a coherent response. Suddenly, a powerful shockwave erupts outwards, blasting the surrounding students away from her. They're thrown back, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion. The force emanates from a single point, creating a clear space around the overwhelmed saintess as the crowd stumbles backward. In the cleared space stands Alba, now holding Celia protectively in his arms. He glares at the stunned students and makes a firm declaration. She is not here as the saint, but simply as a student of Criana Academy. Celia looks up at him, her expression filled with admiration. He continues to address the crowd, his voice ringing with authority, demanding they refrain from such thoughtless behavior. He proclaims that as a holy knight apprentice, he will risk his life to protect the saintess. He leads Celia away from the commotion, leaving the crowd to process what just happened. They stand stunned, murmuring in disbelief at how he took the saintess away in the blink of an eye. Celia looks up at him, her cheeks flushed, and thanks him sincerely. With a confident smirk, Alba remarks that the founder would be furious if he let her cry, adding that his actions must surely make people think he's the son of a great noble family. Watching him from a distance, however, is Elena. Her eyes widen in shock as she recognizes the young man, her hand resting on the hilt of her blade as she breathes his name before the grand edifice of Criana Academy. Celia calls out to her companion with excitement. She urges Alba to hurry, eager for them to get their new uniforms. He, however, stands rigid. Alba had thought himself prepared, but the reality of standing within the Academy's grounds fills him with a chilling apprehension. His fist clenches as a dark thought surfaces, a premonition that Alba Euretia is fated to meet his doom here. Sensing his unease, Celia gently takes his trembling hand, her touch a quiet reassurance. She looks up at him, her expression warm and her smile radiant. She tells him not to be scared, promising that she is with him. Her simple words work their magic. Alba feels the tension leave him and offers his thanks, remarking that such a calming effect is to be expected of the saintess. Celia laughs softly, admitting that she is also a little nervous. Having regained their composure, they venture deeper into the academy, passing beneath stately archways adorned with the institution's winged sword crest. Inside a grand hall, they stop before an immense stained glass window. Celia explains that it depicts the hero protecting the goddess, who she notes never fails to pray for everyone. As Celia herself closes her eyes to pray for them to be in the same class, Alba realizes her prayer is born from a very personal interest. Their path leads them to the uniform pickup office, where an elderly clerk with distinctive spiral-lensed glasses greets them. He confirms their names, Alcuin and Celia Quinn, and announces that they have both been assigned to the unicorn class as he hands them their uniforms. The clerk wishes them a full and enjoyable school life. Celia beams, thrilled that they are in the same class, and thanks him profusely. Alba, however, watches the old man with a flicker of suspicion, a feeling growing within him that this clerk was somehow involved in a past event. With their new uniforms secured, the pair walks down a wide staircase. Celia is visibly happy, while Alba walks beside her, his expression more contemplative as they begin their life at the academy. His thoughts are shattered by a sharp voice calling his true name, Alba. Startled, he turns as Celia quickly corrects the speaker, reminding them that at the academy, he is to be called Al. The owner of the voice is a young woman with a severe expression and a long, dark ponytail. She stands before them with a commanding presence, acknowledging that his hair color is different, but stating with certainty that he is, without a doubt, Alba. A jolt of recognition runs through him. He remembers her fiery hair and her name, Elena. The memories flood back. She was a childhood friend, his betrothed, and one of the heroines in the story he knows all too well. This realization brings a chilling thought. Elena is one of the key people tied to his prophesied death. As he grapples with this, she ignores his inner turmoil and demands to know why he is accompanying the saintess. Before he can formulate a reply, Celia steps forward to answer for him. She explains that Al is her attendant, a holy knight apprentice. Elena's gaze remains sharp and skeptical, questioning if Celia is certain she hasn't mistaken him for someone else. Her doubt sends Celia into a flustered panic. She tries to explain that the Alba who saved her is now Al, but that he isn't the Alba who knows Elena from home. The convoluted explanation only serves to confirm Elena's suspicions, who coolly concludes that Alba must have run away. He forces a strained smile, feigning ignorance of her accusations. Unmoved, Elena's eyes narrow as she adds another charge, that he also spread a rumor that he had died. In a flash, she lunges forward, her blade a silver blur, stopping just short of him. She warns that if he continues to play dumb, she will cut him down. The look on her face is deadly serious, and he realizes with a start that this is no idle threat. She holds the sword steady, its point aimed at his throat. Identifying herself as Lady Elena of the prestigious Persia family, she demands an answer one last time. As onlookers begin to murmur, Alba tells a worried Celia to stand back. His expression hardens. He makes an internal vow. No matter what fate may befall him, he will face it and fight with all his strength. He stands tall, ready to give his answer, as Celia watches in alarm. He maintains his composure, looking her in the eye, and states firmly, "I'm Al." Her lips curl into a knowing, Dangerous smile. Very well, she concedes, her voice laced with malice. Then engrave this into your body. And without another word, she explodes into motion. Her blade flashes towards him as she declares his punishment for the crime of deceiving the Persia family. He barely parries the furious assault, grunting for the impact. The situation is dire. He knows Elena is the most formidable swordswoman he could face. His eyes narrow, his focus sharpening to a razor's edge as he analyzes her attack. She presses the attack with a fierce cry, lunging forward with all her might. He twists his body back, the tip of her blade just missing him. In the next instant, he is gone. The paving stones where he stood shatter from the force of his sudden movement. Elena's eyes widen in disbelief, her attack hitting nothing but air as she and the onlookers realize he has completely vanished. Before she can process his disappearance, he materializes directly behind her, his expression calm and controlled. He presses the edge of a glowing implement against her throat, halting her movement instantly. The duel is over in a single, decisive maneuver. A faint, confident smile plays on his lips. The source of his impossible speed was not swordsmanship, but magic power. He recalls a fundamental lesson. The powers of nature, fire, water, and wind, are elemental affinities. To wield them, a mage must find and harmonize with the single attribute that best suits their own nature. He recalls his past, sitting outside a rustic home while reading a book on magic. He remembers thinking about how he used to look up enemy attribute weaknesses while playing a game. This memory led him to attempt to discover his own attribute. He struggled, focusing his mind to harmonize with the world around him, trying to grasp a faint, strange sensation that lay beyond his five senses. For years, he kept that sensation constantly in his mind, sharpening it. After 1 year, then 2, then 3, he finally mastered the power enough to manifest a crackle of lightning on his fingertip, determined to wield it freely. His training culminated on a desolate, rocky peak where he prepared to take the next step, transforming his entire body. With a deafening crackle, a massive bolt of lightning descended, obliterating the rock formation in a brilliant flash. He had succeeded, transforming his very being into lightning itself. He reveled in this newfound ability, a power he believed could resist his fated death, a power befitting the strongest villain. The memory fades, returning him to the present confrontation with Elena. He attempts to reason with her, urging her to listen, but she furiously cuts him off, demanding he stop his foolish nonsense. He meets her anger with a quiet apology. He acknowledges that she must resent Alba, but explains that he is just Al now. His words leave her bewildered, questioning his talk of resentment and sorrow. Her confusion instantly boils over into pure rage. With an incoherent scream, she lunges, her sword arcing down to strike him. In the next instant, he is gone. The surrounding crowd erupts in shock, shouting that the insane man and the saintess have both vanished. Left alone in the now empty space, Elena lowers her weapon, her expression hardening as she realizes they have escaped. She stood alone as a tear traced a path down her cheek. When a concerned onlooker asked if she was all right, she insisted she was fine, claiming it was merely a bit of dust in her eyes. Meanwhile, some distance away, Alba carried Celia through the bustling streets, much to the surprise and amusement of the townsfolk. He figured they were probably far enough away now, while Celia remarked on how startled she was to be suddenly swept up like this. He glanced down at her, asking if she was mad. Celia, with her cheeks slightly puffed, replied that she wasn't, really. After a moment of silence, Alba then inquired about the beautiful lady, Elena. Her denial crumbled as she began listing all of Elena's superior qualities, that she was more mature, had a larger chest, and was incredibly pretty, all while insisting she wasn't jealous at all. As a single tear escaped her eye, Alba couldn't help but laugh, prompting her to demand why he was laughing. Looking at her with a gentle, knowing smile, he called her a terrible liar. He then changed the subject, asking if they should proceed to the house her father had prepared for them. After a moment of shock, Celia agreed, but only on the condition that he carry her the entire way. Amused, Alba accepted her terms, addressing her formally as saintess. As he continued to carry her through the streets, a wry smile on his face, Alba reflected on the recent chaos. It seemed his new life at Criana Academy was destined to be full of trouble, right from the very. Alba and Celia arrive at a large, two-story house with timber framing, a stark contrast to their previous life. Carrying a bag marked with a winged symbol, Alba stands beside Celia before the sturdy wooden gate, their new life in the capital about to begin. Celia's eyes widen with delight as she exclaims that the house is even bigger than their old mountain cabin. Alba, holding a piece of paper with their new address, confirms that this must be the place. She then excitedly points out a plot of land beside the house, noting that it's a vegetable garden where they can start growing things again. As she beams, Alba breaks into a cold sweat, realizing the immense value of a two-story house with its own garden right in the heart of the royal capital. His thoughts drift as he looks out over the surrounding city blocks. The property must be outrageously expensive, a fact he can only attribute to the influence and wealth of Celia's father. They step inside, revealing a spacious interior with a kitchen, a modern-looking bathtub placed oddly in the hallway, and a grand staircase. Celia explores with childlike wonder while Alba follows, still carrying their belongings. He sits on the edge of a simple bed in one of the rooms, the bag resting on the floor beside him. Looking around the clean, empty space, he quietly concedes that it is, indeed, a good house. Later, sitting together at a dining table, Celia asks about money. Alba questions if she received any living expenses along with the house, but she says she hasn't. She explains her father's condition. To live an ordinary life, she must earn her own living. However, she adds with a smile that he promised to help if things got too difficult, a detail that makes Alba think her father is still too soft. His expression hardens as he reveals his nearly empty wallet. He declares that since they don't have much money, he needs to find work immediately. Celia calmly tells him that he doesn't have to work, leaving him utterly confused. She clarifies her statement, revealing that her father has already arranged a job for her at the church. The news, set against the backdrop of a grand cathedral, stuns Alba into silence. She continues to explain her duties as the saintess, a role bestowed with divine blessings. Her work involves oracle hearing, receiving the goddess's warnings to avert disasters, and using high-level healing power to cure wounds and illnesses. As compensation, she receives a portion of the donations gathered from the believers who seek her aid. He understood that Celia likely took the job as saintess with the pure intention of helping people, but he couldn't shake the cynical thought that someone greedy had orchestrated it all to profit from the massive donations her presence would attract. As this dark thought crossed his mind, Celia noticed his scowl and asked what was wrong. He quickly dismissed her concern, telling himself to stop thinking such things, though a part of him still believed the saintess was a gold mine. He then declared that he would also get a job, refusing to let her be the sole earner. He explained that letting a girl do all the work while he did nothing was a blow to his pride. Celia, confused, replied that it was fine since they lived together, but he sharply cut her off, telling her to save that kind of devotion for her future husband. The comment struck Celia with comical, yet painful force. Her face flushed with hurt and embarrassment. Tears welled in her eyes as she clenched her small fists, the sting of his words about a future without him evident on her face. In response, she angrily declared that she didn't care about him anymore and would eat dinner by herself. With that, she turned and stormed out of the room, leaving Alba standing alone by the dinner table. Later, lying on his bed, he tried to justify his harshness. He reasoned that he hadn't said anything wrong. He was, after all, just her companion for now. He concluded that she already had a proper match destined for her. His thoughts turned to this destined partner, Yuri's, the true protagonist of the world he knew as Criana fantasy. He recalled Yuri's as a handsome master of sword and magic, a true saint, the complete opposite of a villain like himself. In that story, all the heroines inevitably fall for Yuri's. He reflected that it had been 3 months since they met, and with Yuri's eventual appearance, there was no reason for him to stay with Celia. A memory surfaced of their early days at a rustic cabin, where he had assured her that she was just a normal girl, not a saintess, and could stay as long as she liked. Celia had been overjoyed. The memories of that peaceful time continued. Working together in the fields, the simple joy of eating freshly harvested vegetables, his gentle teasing as she struggled with cooking, and a quiet moment gazing up at the night sky. An experience so profound it felt like they were being pulled into the cosmos. He remembered how truly relaxed she had been, spinning freely in a field of flowers. With a bright, carefree smile, she had called out his name, Alba. Returning to the present, lying in the quiet of his room, he tried to convince himself that it was fine if Celia moved on to her destined life. It would mean he could avoid his own death flags. Yet, he had to admit the truth to himself. He would be lying if he said he wouldn't miss her when she was gone. He sleeps soundly, unaware of the soft knock at his door. Celia peers into his room, her expression gentle as she quietly apologizes for her behavior earlier. She then kneels by his bedside, whispering to the sleeping Alba. She confesses that it's entirely thanks to him that she is where she is now, and offers him her sincere gratitude. The next morning, as a bird chirps outside his window, Alba groggily stirs from his sleep, realizing a new day has begun. He soon discovers a bag of food and a note left on his desk. In it, Celia apologizes again for the previous day and explains she has already left for her duties at the church. A small smile touches his lips as he quietly thanks her. He wastes no time, taking a large, satisfying bite of the sandwich she left for him. With renewed energy, he realizes that since Celia has gone to the church, he too must go out and earn money. A look of determination settles on his face. His path leads him to a large, fortress-like building in the center of town, its walls marked with the emblem of a sword and shield. This establishment is the Adventurers Guild, a mediator that manages and assigns jobs from all over the kingdom. The requests range from simple deliveries to dangerous missions, such as exterminating monsters known as magic beasts. Stepping inside, Alba observes the other adventurers, tough-looking folk gathered for money or fame. He reflects that in the game Criana fantasy, becoming an adventurer wasn't necessary to complete the story. But now, in this real life, it's the fastest way to earn a living. His gaze settles on a particular notice, a 5-star quest for the extermination of a gigantic magic beast, a dark dragon, with a reward of 5 million curia. He clenches his fist. He's never fought a magic beast before, but he feels confident in the strength he has built up over the past 3 years. His focus on the high-level quests draws unwanted attention. Two nearby adventurers, one in full-plate armor and another in a horned helmet, begin to laugh, mocking the idea of a newcomer aiming for the 5-star board. Ignoring their jeers, he turns his attention to the reception counter. A friendly guild receptionist welcomes him, standing before a sign explaining the adventurer star ranks. The system is clear. Rookie adventurers can only accept simple 1-star requests. To get the big rewards, one must raise their rank through quest completion and contribution to the guild, progressing from rookie to veteran status. He approaches the rank reception desk, with a receptionist with her hair in 2 neat buns gestures towards him, ready to process his request. After completing the registration, he walks away from the counter with his first official quest slip. The paper details a simple task: find a 4-leaf clover. Outside, the formidable stone structure of the Adventurers Guild stands under a clear sky. Now on the street, he examines the 1-star quest for herb collection. He accepts that, as a beginner, he must start small and slowly raise his rank. The destination is the Western Forest, and since taking a carriage costs money, he resolves to run there himself. As he sets off, the same 2 adventurers who had mocked him are seen drinking in an outdoor tavern, completely unaware as he bends down to begin his sprint. His movement creates an instantaneous, violent gust of wind that blasts through the area, startling the 2 men and sending their drinks and nearby objects flying. The cause is clear. He is moving at superhuman speed, a blur of motion kicking up dust and wind as he propels himself forward with incredible force. Elsewhere in the city, a young woman with long pigtails walks along, casually remarking to herself that living in a dorm is a drag, but it can't be helped since rent in the royal capital is so expensive. Before she can finish her thought, he flashes past her in an instant, his speed so immense that he is little more than a streak against the city backdrop. His incredible speed kicks up a sudden, powerful gust of wind that whips through the street. A young woman with pigtails is caught off guard, crying out in surprise as her hair and clothes are thrown about. Beside her, Yuri simply smiles, a look of admiration on his face as he remarks on the incredible display. She turns to him, her expression a mixture of confusion and surprise, and calls out his name questioningly. He meets her gaze with a calm, reassuring smile, dismissing her concern. He tells her it was nothing and urges her to continue on with him, addressing her by name, Alice. As they prepare to move, Alba walks past them with a casual air, a trail of dust swirling in his wake, the only evidence of the impossible speed he had just used. Alice's eyes widen in shock as she stares after him, the realization dawning on her that he was the source of the disturbance. Nearby, 2 townsmen stumble back, their faces etched with disbelief at the unseen force that had just rushed by. In the rugged mountains near the forest of Nebe, Alba Ericia earns his keep as a newly minted adventurer. He plucks a specific herb from the ground, a satisfied look on his face as he completes his first assigned task, a simple herb-gathering quest. His method of travel is anything but simple. He leaps from a high cliff, descending with practiced ease. Having lived deep in these mountains for 3 years, such terrain is no challenge for him. Returning to the Adventurers Guild, he presents the pouch of herbs to the receptionist. She stares in disbelief, pointing out that he's returned only 3 hours after accepting the quest. She explains that it's supposed to be a 6-hour round trip, demanding to know how he did it. Alba simply states that he ran very fast, a response that only deepens her astonishment. Composing herself, she officially presents him with his reward. He examines the 10,000 curia he earned. For a 1-star quest completed in 3 hours, it's a decent sum. But he knows that to earn more, he will need to raise his adventurer rank quickly. As he walks through the grand capital city, his thoughts drift from his own ambitions. He gazes at the towering architecture and finds himself wondering how Celia is doing. At that very moment, Celia stands before a massive congregation in her role as the saintess. She leads them in prayer, asking the goddess to guide all who wander and stray. The crowd below is captivated, calling out her title and begging for her blessing. Her father, the Pope, watches with pride, remarking on how overjoyed her followers are. With a serene smile, Celia bestows her grace upon the adoring masses. In the same time it took Alba to complete his quest, she earned 10 times as much. Elsewhere, Alba sits down for a meal, delighted to find that the capital even has ramen shops. He happily slurps the noodles, enjoying a moment of simple pleasure. His meal finished, he looks out a window onto the city streets. His expression turns contemplative as he remembers that the capital is also home to the Ericia Duchy, his family. He reflects that since he ran away, his brother has likely inherited everything, making his own family feel like complete strangers. He reflects on his family's indifference, noting that they never denied the rumors of his death, which almost certainly means they don't think much of him. Finishing his meal, he resolves to stay vigilant. Unlike the remote mountains, the capital is full of people who know him as Alba, such as Elena, and he cannot afford to be recognized. With this resolve, he pulls up his hood to obscure his features as he leaves the eatery. He cannot let his guard down for a moment, knowing that any small misstep could lead to a fatal outcome. As he walks, shouts of alarm suddenly erupt. A runaway horse thunders down the street, scattering the panicked crowd and bearing down on a young girl who has fallen in its path. She looks up, her eyes wide with terror, unable to move as the massive animal closes in. The bystanders scream for her to run. She is paralyzed by fear. With the horse nearly upon her, the girl lets out a terrified scream. In that instant, a brilliant, angular flash of light erupts directly in the horse's path, halting its charge with a jarring impact. The blue flash dissipates to reveal Alba, who has positioned himself between the girl and the danger. He turns to her, asking if she is all right. He stands calmly atop the subdued horse, the immediate danger averted. The young girl sits on the ground, staring up at her rescuer in stunned silence as a small crowd looks on. Leaping down from the horse, he offers her a reassuring smile and confirms that she isn't hurt. The girl, still flustered, manages to reply that she is fine. Her gaze lingers on his face, and she remarks that he seems familiar. Alba's friendly demeanor vanishes, replaced by sudden panic. He realizes the grave danger. If she is a noble, it will be no surprise for her to recognize the Duke's second son, Alba. He is startled as the townsfolk erupt in cheers, celebrating his heroic rescue of the young girl. While the crowd praises him, he pulls his hood down, consumed by anxiety. He couldn't ignore the girl's scream, but he knows that if he keeps standing out, someone will eventually recognize him as Alba. His thoughts are interrupted by an authoritative voice asking about the commotion. The source of the voice is a tall man in ornate armor, flanked by 2 guards. The young girl beside Alba recognizes him instantly, identifying him as Duke Roy Aricia. Duke Roy addresses the girl, recalling her from the Lupica barony. She confirms her identity as Mina, mentioning they met briefly at his succession ceremony. Roy then turns his attention to the situation, expressing his gratitude as the one in charge of public order and as a friend of the Lupica family. His gaze settles on the hooded figure, and he wonders internally if this could be Alba's brother. The thought of being recognized by his own brother sends a jolt of panic through Alba. He knows with absolute certainty that he cannot allow this man to discover who he is. His continued silence draws a sharp look from Roy, who asks if his thanks went unheard, or if the stranger is simply being rude. Startled into action, Alba quickly dismisses the gratitude, insisting it was nothing. He turns to make a hasty exit, desperate to get away. As he walks away, a single name spoken by Roy stops him cold in his tracks. Alba. Roy clarifies his statement, explaining with a hint of condescension that the man's voice merely reminded him of his foolish little brother. Alba remains frozen, the near miss doing nothing to calm his racing heart. He recoils internally, thinking his face is not fit to be seen by Duke. But his brother, Roy, cuts through his hesitation, declaring that it is his decision to make and roaring for him to reveal himself. As the Duke's command hangs in the air, a new voice cuts in. A woman approaches the tense standoff, looking directly at the hooded figure and stating calmly, "I found you, Al." Alba freezes in shock. The sudden address startles everyone. Roy turns with a sharp, questioning gaze. Mina looks on with wide-eyed surprise. Alba, his face still partially hidden, turns toward the speaker in disbelief. The newcomer stands confidently, introducing herself as Elena Persia and offering a polite greeting to Roy. Her arrival is clearly a terrible development for Alba, who realizes the situation has just become significantly more complicated. He finds himself trapped. His mind races, identifying Elena as a tiger before him and Roy as a wolf at his back. With 2 people who know his true identity as Alba now present, he is paralyzed with indecision. Breaking the tense silence, Roy addresses the woman. "Lady Elena, do you know this man?" he asks. She replies without hesitation, confirming that the man is her friend, a squire in training named Al. His gaze narrows slightly as he processes her quick response, silently questioning the meaning behind her sudden appearance and convenient explanation. He considers her words, repeating the name, Al, and concluding that this man must not be Alba. Elena quickly agrees, asserting that there is no way she would mistake him for someone else. She then adds a startling revelation, informing Roy that she was once Alba's fiancée. With a sharp look, she asks rhetorically, "Besides, he's supposed to be dead, right?" The implication settles over the group. Roy now understands that his brother, Alba, is officially considered deceased. Putting the matter aside with a smile, he turns his attention to the young lady he was protecting, offering to escort Lady Mina home. With the tense encounter concluded, Mina turned to the man she knew as Al Sama, her eyes wide with gratitude as she thanked him profusely. Standing nearby, Elena Persia simply offered a curt acknowledgement. The group then proceeded down the cobblestone street, with Duke Roy and his guards leading the way, followed by Elena, Mina, and the hooded Alba. He walked in tense silence, a bead of sweat on his brow, acutely aware of Elena's stern, watchful presence at his side. Once they had put some distance between themselves and the others, he stopped to thank Elena properly, believing he had escaped the situation without any trouble. He bid her farewell, preparing to take his leave. But as he turned to go, she stopped him. With a sharp command to hold, she insisted they needed to talk. Alba cried out in shock as a blade flashed before him. The cold tip of her sword pressed against his neck. With an unwavering, icy gaze, she spoke his true name, Alba. He stammered, feigning ignorance about what she could possibly mean. Her eyes narrowed with menace as she delivered an ultimatum. If he kept playing dumb, she would reveal his true identity to the Duke. The realization struck him with force. She knew who he was all along. Cornered, he raised his hands in surrender. He sighed, agreeing to explain everything, and lamented to himself that he was already in trouble before he had even started school. As this drama unfolded, an unseen observer mused on the goddess of fate. Elsewhere, Alice asked a companion if he'd missed a chance to interfere with them. In another part of the city, the saintess was greeted by an adoring crowd. And not far away, Duke Roy Aricia gently took Mina's. At the Grand Criana Academy, the entrance ceremony begins. A message of congratulations is extended to the promising new students who will shape the future, a cohort that includes Alba, Celia, and many other hopeful youths. A brilliant sun shines down from a clear blue sky, marking the start of a new chapter for all. Beneath that sky, the Academy's principal delivers a booming address, declaring that a bright light shines upon their destiny, guided by the goddess of destiny herself. Listening to the speech, Alba and Celia stand among the other students, having successfully entered the Academy. Celia remarks on the principal's energetic demeanor, but Alba's mind is elsewhere. He internally recognizes the old man, recalling that in the game, this was the person to ask for hints on how to progress. His expression hardens as a bead of sweat forms on his temple. While those around him seem oblivious, he is already contemplating the grave reality of his situation. He understands that there are 5 distinct routes laid out before him, each tied to a specific heroine, and all of them are intrinsically linked to his potential doom. 5 silhouetted figures represent these fated paths, each a potential harbinger of his end. He grimly considers his current entanglements. He is already involved in the routes of both Celia and Elena, and he knows it would be terrible to accumulate even more death flags. His thoughts turn to the remaining 3. One of them is the princess, but she is treated as a secret character. He reasons that since she is difficult to encounter even by chance at the Academy, she shouldn't pose an immediate problem. Finally, he considers the last 2, the protagonist's childhood friend, Alice, and the disciple of the sage, Lily. He realizes with concern that they are both in the same grade as him, meaning he will have to be extremely careful. He realizes there is another person, apart from the 5 heroines, that he must be exceptionally careful around. His eyes widen with alarm as he spots the individual across the hall. The person is Yuri's, identified in Alba's mind as the main protagonist of the story, known as Criana fantasy. This is the single greatest threat because in that story, the villain, Alba's role, is almost always fated to die at the protagonist's hands. The 2 young men are presented as perfect opposites, destined for a fatal confrontation. As if sensing his stare, Yuri's head suddenly swivels, his gaze sweeping across the crowd and landing directly on Alba. Alice, standing beside Yuri's, asks him what's the matter, but he dismisses her concern. Nearby, Celia notices Alba's sudden tension and quietly asks his name. Internally, Alba panics, resolving that he must stay away from Yuri's at all costs. His new strategy is simple. He will not draw any attention to himself while at the Academy. This plan is immediately put to the test as he and Celia find their seats in their assigned classroom, Unicorn, surrounded by their new peers. However, whispers immediately break out among the other students. They are shocked to see the saintess at the Academy and comment on her beauty. Alba listens, realizing with dismay that it's impossible not to stand out when he is constantly with someone so famous. He and Celia turn their attention to the front of the room, the unwanted focus of the entire class fixed upon them. He watched as Celia Margaret formally introduced herself to the class. A wave of concern washed over him. At this rate, the normal Academy life she so desperately wished for would be impossible to achieve. She continued with a bright smile, explaining that she was just a first-year student in the Unicorn class, attending Criana Academy, like everyone else. Her plea for them to treat her as a simple classmate, without any honorifics, sent a wave of shock and admiration through the other students. The class erupted in enthusiastic agreement, instantly warming to her and calling her Celia-chan. Alba watched, relieved, realizing he had nothing to worry about. Celia's charm had seized everyone's hearts in a single moment. His relief was short-lived. One of the students turned to Celia and asked who he was. Immediately, others began to murmur, feeling they had seen him somewhere before, associating him with bad memories. The murmurs grew, and soon, the entire class's attention was fixed squarely on him, their faces obscured by suspicion and curiosity. He slumped in his seat, running a hand through his hair in frustration. He cursed his situation internally. Though his hair color and personality were completely different now, he knew there were many nobles at the Academy. It was only a matter of time before they figured out who he truly was. Before he could respond, Celia took his arm and addressed the class. She introduced him as Al, her friend and the Holy Knight's apprentice. She added that he could be shy, but asked everyone to try and get along with him. Alba, meanwhile, internally protested that it was impossible for people to get along with a fishy guy like him. Her words worked like a charm. The students, their suspicions instantly erased, welcomed him with a cheerful "nice to meet you, Al." He could only stand there, stunned, realizing the terrifying power of the saintess's influence. Even Yuri's from across the room turned and offered a polite "nice to meet you, Al." Alba could only manage a quiet "thank you," Celia, as she smiled warmly beside him. Elena Persia confirms to another student that she is, in fact, in a unicorn class, acknowledging them as classmates. Her presence immediately captivates the other students, who comment on her beauty and formidable reputation as a swordswoman. Amid the chatter, Alba quietly informs a classmate that he already told Elena the truth about his identity when they met the other day. He internally processes the weight of his situation. Elena knows he is Alba, not Al. She is, after all, his former fiancée. The sudden revelation of their past engagement sends a shockwave of surprise through Celia. Elena, however, remains composed and turns to the saintess, apologizing for any trouble she may have caused previously. Sometime later, while walking with Elena on a balcony overlooking the capital, Alba reflects on the sheer disbelief of his circumstances, having been reunited with his former fiancée. She breaks the silence, asking if he disappeared 3 years ago because he was fed up with his family and simply ran away. Alba confirms this fabricated reason, stating he has abandoned his past life to be reborn anew. He thinks to himself that the truth is far more complicated. He disappeared 3 years ago due to the numerous death flags surrounding him, and he doubts Elena would ever believe that he had been reincarnated. Unaware of his inner turmoil, Elena continues her story. She recounts the rumors that spread after he vanished, that he had died, or even that his family had their problem child assassinated. Ultimately, she received a letter from the Rishia family formally breaking the engagement without explanation, prompting a wry laugh from Alba about how people talk. He turns to her with a slight smile, asking for confirmation that she hated him as well. Elena admits that, behind closed doors, her family was overjoyed to sever ties with a hoodlum like him. She bluntly agrees, calling him a crude, filthy, womanizing scumbag and confessing she had considered killing him herself on several occasions, which makes Alba shudder. Her expression softens slightly as she continues, "But when I thought about you being dead..." He listens, stunned, as Elena continues her story, confessing that when she heard the news of his death, she started crying. Her mind flashes back to a childhood memory. Her father had just told her that both her sword style and her personality were too manly, demanding she act more like a proper woman. As she wept, a young Alba had approached, asking what was wrong. In that memory, the young Alba had offered simple, profound reassurance, telling her that just being Elena was enough in itself. His words had struck her deeply, and she could only whisper his name in astonishment. Returning to the present, the memory brings a gentle, blushing smile to her face. She finishes her thought, admitting that, back then, she certainly didn't hate him. Her confession leaves him flustered, a blush creeping up his neck. He realizes this reveals a side of Elena's character that never appeared in the game, a hint that she wasn't originally a bad person. His thoughts race, connecting her past kindness to her present actions. He considers how she stopped the runaway horse and became the saintess's bodyguard, concluding that she seems to have been reborn. A quiet laugh escapes him as he reflects that he, too, is an entirely different person now. As he muses on his own transformation, Elena offers her own observation, remarking that it's almost like he's back to how he was in their childhood. He turns to her, a questioning look on his face. Startled by her comment, he is about to respond when she abruptly shifts the conversation. She asks about his plans for the academy, reminding him of the animosity he faces from other nobles. He acknowledges the danger, and to his surprise, Elena offers to help him keep his identity a secret. Overjoyed by her offer, he exclaims his gratitude with a wide grin. She turns her head slightly, telling him not to worry about it, but her help comes with a price. From the balcony above, she announces her condition. He must deal with the endless parade of suitors that have plagued her since their engagement was annulled. Far below, his shocked cry echoes from the street. He reminds Elena not to forget their promise, and she retorts that the same applies to him. Standing nearby, Celia observes their familiar exchange with a look of quiet curiosity, while another student appears shocked by their interaction. The mention of a promise between Alba and his former fiancé sends Celia's mind reeling, her eyes swirling with confusion and concern. Unable to contain her thoughts, she calls out directly to Elena, who turns to ask what the saintess requires. Celia requests that they drop the formal titles, suggesting that since they're classmates, Elena should just call her Celia. Elena smiles and agrees, stating that Celia can also call her Elena without any honorifics. With the formalities settled, the two greet each other by their first names. Elena offers a warm smile, and Celia seems bashfully pleased. Nearby students murmur in admiration of the pretty and cute pair. Her curiosity piqued once more, Celia turns to Alba, playfully demanding to know what secret he and Elena are keeping. He dismisses her, stating it isn't the right time or place, while Elena simply chuckles at his expense. Their conversation is cut short by a condescending voice from behind them. A student scoffs at the sight of Alba, with both the saintess and Elena, warning the damn holy knight's apprentice not to get carried away. The owner of the voice steps forward, revealing a young man with a sneer plastered across his face, his expression filled with arrogance and disdain. Alba calmly faces the newcomer and asks who he is. The student retorts that Alba's ignorance of his identity just proves what a bastard hick he is. Before the situation can escalate, Elena quietly provides the answer, identifying the boy as Walby, the eldest son of Count Walgot. He watches as Walby approaches Elena with practiced flattery, complimenting her beauty. Unimpressed, Elena remarks that he never changes before turning her gaze to Alba, identifying the noble as one of the many suitors she needs his help dealing with. The noble, Walby, ignores Alba and presses his case to Elena. He acknowledges that his house Walgot is of a mere count status, but insists they are still high-ranking nobles and a perfect match for her house Persia. He frames his proposal as a rare opportunity now that they are classmates, comparing her to a beautiful flower of royal lineage. He leans in with a confident smirk, formally declaring that it would be an honor for any noble to take her hand in marriage. As he makes his proposal, Elena turns to Celia, stating flatly that such a union would be beneficial for both of their families. In response, Celia simply asks if Elena will accompany her in this life. Before Celia can respond, Alba steps forward, cutting Walby off. He dismisses the talk of family honor, stating that his objection isn't just because Elena asked him to intervene. He declares that he hates people like Walby and bluntly tells the noble that he is not suited for Elena at all, provoking a shocked and angry reaction. His eyes narrow with intensity as he tells Walby that he doesn't understand the worth of the person called Elena in the slightest. He continues, his voice unwavering and clear for all to hear. His declaration that her being Elena is enough in itself echoes through the crowd. The statement brings a delighted smile to Celia's face, who claps and cheers for Al. Walby, however, is left utterly dumbfounded. The public humiliation enrages Walby. He calls Alba a bastard, declaring his actions unforgivable for besmirching the honor of House Walgot. With a sharp flick of his wrist, he throws a handkerchief to the ground before Alba, demanding he accept it. Alba catches the cloth, confused, as Elena watches with a blush, whispering his name. The thrown handkerchief is immediately recognized by the onlookers, who erupt with the realization that a duel has been challenged. As Walby stands with his arms crossed confidently, Alba is left completely bewildered by the sudden turn of events, shouting in a crowd of students' parts, their attention fixed on a tense confrontation. Alba Euretia finds himself face-to-face with Walby, the son of Count Walgot. A duel has been declared. He stands bewildered, sweat beading on his brow as he wonders what is happening. He had been trying to maintain a low profile, but now the entire school is watching him. Beside him, Celia enthusiastically cheers him on, while Elena looks on with quiet concern. This sudden conflict is governed by the strict rules of Criana Academy. While all matches that could lead to death are strictly forbidden, duels to protect one's dignity and honor are permitted within the school grounds. Furthermore, these sanctioned duels are only allowed to take place in the Academy's official dueling arena and must be overseen by a designated witness to ensure the rules are upheld. A small, bipedal cat in a top hat appears between the combatants, introducing himself as the witness, Kate Sith. He formally announces the commencement of the duel between Al and Walby, who now face each other across the grid floor of the arena. From the stands, Elena warns Al that fleeing a duel is a disgrace with dire consequences. Down on the arena floor, Al realizes with a start that he doesn't even know the rules. Walby mocks him, calling him a country bumpkin, before Kate Sith interrupts, demanding they declare what honor is at stake. Walby recalls that this dueling system is merely a side event, unrelated to the main story he knows. Seizing the opportunity, he declares his terms. If he wins, Alba must stay away from Elena, and he will also claim the saintess, Celia, for himself. Hearing this, Alba's expression hardens. Believing this event won't trigger any death flags, he accepts the challenge. He then states his own condition for the duel. If he is the one to win, Walby must stay away from both of them. With both parties having declared their oaths, Kate Sith gives the final command. The duel officially begins. Walby smirks, utterly confident in his victory, while Alba watches him with cold determination. As the match starts, Celia nervously asks Elena if Walby is truly strong. Elena confirms it, revealing that he is known as the Flame Sorcerer and is the best in their year with fire magic. In the arena, Walby begins to chant, calling upon a crimson inferno to annihilate the obstacle before him and reduce everything to scorched earth. He completes his incantation, a high-level fire attribute spell as noted by the feline witness, Kate Sith. With a roar of hell flame, a massive, swirling vortex of fire erupts from his hands, hurtling directly towards Alba, whose eyes widen at the sheer scale of the attack. The fiery projectile detonates with immense force, sending debris flying. Alba braces himself against the concussive wave, caught in the heart of the explosion. From the sidelines, his friends and the other spectators cry out in shock and terror. Elena and Celia shout his name, their faces etched with fear for his safety. As the smoke and dust begin to settle, the aftermath of the spell becomes clear. A large, scorched crater mars the dueling grounds, yet Alba stands on the far side, apparently untouched by the inferno. He plants his foot firmly on the ground with a sharp tack. Observing from a distance, Kate Sith acknowledges the power of the flame, but calmly concludes that his intervention is not yet required. In the blink of an eye, he appears directly behind a stunned Walby, who demands to know when he moved. Alba calmly explains that chanting a spell leaves a user full of openings. The crowd erupts in amazement at his instantaneous movement, and even Elena looks on, impressed. Her mind races, recalling how he had previously dodged her own sword strike at a similar speed, even managing to catch it. That movement, it was almost like elsewhere in the crowd. A thoughtful young woman named Lily comes to a profound realization. Alba didn't just generate lightning. He transformed his very body into it. She silently elaborates on this concept. While standard magic is the act of adding a phenomenon to the world, Alba did something different. He became the phenomenon itself, adding it within his own being. To activate magic without an incantation, it was something thought to be impossible. The students around her whisper, wondering who this insightful girl is. Her gaze fixes on him. She thinks, contemplating the sheer complexity and danger of his power, doubting anyone else present could truly grasp it. Nearby, Elena's expression is grim as she reaches a startling conclusion. That power is on the same level as her own master, the sage. With a look of quiet resolve, Lily stands firm. I won't lose, she vows internally. She is revealed to be another disciple of the sage, a rival in power and purpose. Ignoring Lily's declaration from the crowd, Walby, consumed by rage, charges headlong towards Alba, who stands his ground with unnerving calm. The enraged student screams that Alba's lightning spell left him wide open. Unfazed, Alba retorts that Walby should focus on the obstacle before him, a being who breaks the very laws of the world. Taking the words as a challenge, Walby unleashes a powerful torrent of fire, shouting the name of his spell as the inferno surges across the courtyard towards his opponent. But before the flames can connect, Alba moves in a flash of lightning, closing the distance instantly and meeting Walby's charge with an unseen, explosive force. The impact sends Walby flying backward, tumbling out of the designated ring and crashing hard onto the stone ground. As the referee cat declares the duel over, Alba looks at his open palm, quietly wondering if he used too much power. His victory secured, he gives a casual wave to the cheering crowd, where both Elena and Celia can be seen. Meanwhile, a medicat rushes to the unconscious Walby, assuring onlookers that he is merely knocked out. Elsewhere in the stands, a young woman named Alice expresses her amazement that Alba can use such insane magic without an incantation. Beside her, Yuri's, identified as the original protagonist of this world, agrees, remarking that it was a good decision to come see the duel. She exclaims that Alba took him down in a single hit, but Yuri's calmly corrects her. As the defeated Walby is wheeled away, Yuri states that Alba didn't actually hit him at all. He simply thrust his hand forward, leaving Alice utterly confused. He elaborates, explaining that Alba never made physical contact. He only closed the distance and pushed his arm forward in his opponent's direction. However, when a simple movement like that is performed at the speed of lightning, it generates a massive shockwave. That concussive force alone is what sent his opponent flying. His perfect perception of the battle stood in stark contrast to the confusion of the other students. They could only make out a flash of blue light, completely missing Alba's technique. Among them, Alice noted that Alba wasn't the only insane one there. Unlike them, Yuri's had seen everything. His unique insight prompted Alice to approach him. She confirmed that he could see Alba's movements and then asked if he would win in a fight against him. Yuri's deflected, remarking that just because one can see something doesn't mean one can react to it, implying he would lose. He casually dismissed the idea, stating there was no need for them to fight. Alice persisted, however, wanting to know what he would do if Alba ever made someone he cared about suffer. Yuri's remained silent, his expression unreadable. With his arms crossed confidently, he made a silent, internal vow. He wouldn't lose. Meanwhile, Alba walked away from the arena, where he was met by cheerful Celia and Elena. Elena immediately asked when he had acquired such power. He explained that he had been training deep in the mountains. Internally, he reflected that he was the only one in this world who knew the true extent of his own talent. His confidence stemmed from his knowledge of the world's true nature. In the game, he remembered, the character of Alba was strong enough to become the final boss if he trained seriously and leveled up. He could become the strongest character, not even losing to the protagonist. He knew he was strong, and his victory proved he wasn't wrong. Elena remarked on his transformation, noting that the Alba who hated hard work was now training, making him seem like a completely different person. He simply told them that he had been reborn into a new version of himself. As Elena playfully suggested Celia could call him Al now, Alba became flustered. He looked towards Celia, thinking to himself that she was the most wonderful person. He admits with a sweat drop that he might have overdone it a little. Celia, however, fiercely supports his actions, declaring that anyone causing trouble for Elena deserves to be sent flying. Elena, with a wry expression, calls Celia a reliable saintess, but adds that if things had gone worse, she would have simply healed his opponent. She then turns to Alba, thanking him for fighting the duel, to which he simply replies that he was keeping a promise. He elaborates on that promise with a confident smile, reminding her of his vow to save her. Her gaze drops, a faint blush coloring her cheeks as she quietly affirms his words. The moment passes, and the group walks on together, unseen by them. However, Fate was steadily moving forward, setting pieces in motion in places they could not yet perceive. One after another, all the key players were being swept up in the current of events. Mina, Yuri's, Alice, and even Celia. In a sunlit room, Alba is jolted awake by Alice, who sits squarely on his chest. She cheerfully announces that breakfast is ready. Gasping for air, he greets her, complaining that he couldn't breathe because she was trying to wake him up. Later, at the breakfast table, he compliments her cooking, noting it has greatly improved and that she must have practiced a lot in the mountains. He offers to cook dinner that night. As they prepare to leave, Alice hands him a wrapped lunchbox, reminding him not to forget it. He takes the bento, a thoughtful expression on his face as he processes the gesture. Now walking through the town streets, he and Alice head towards the academy. She remarks on how fun the classes are, but he, looking somewhat drained, counters that he finds them difficult. As they join the throng of students approaching the Grand Academy gates, Elena calls out a greeting to them from a distance. Alba casually waves back. Seated in a classroom, he rests his chin on his hand, reflecting on how peaceful his life at Criana Academy has become. His thoughts continue, noting that ever since the duel on the first day, nothing that could be considered a death flag has occurred. However, this peace comes at a cost. As he walks the halls, other students visibly shrink away from him in fear. He realizes he must have gone overboard during the duel, leaving his peers completely terrified of him. He continues on his solitary path, acknowledging that this fear keeps him from getting involved in any dangerous situations. While he knows he should be thankful for that, an undeniable thought surfaces. He feels a bit lonely. Meanwhile, in a classroom, Elena approaches Celia and Alice, suggesting they all have lunch together. Celia looks around for their friend, asking where Al is. Alice, with a sigh, simply remarks that Al is just unbelievable. She and Elena found him napping under a tree. Alice remarked that he had already devoured his lunch before the break even began, lamenting that just when she thought he had changed, he was still the same delinquent. He knew from experience that having lunch with a heroine was an essential event to grow closer to them, a key moment to increase their favorability. As if summoned by his thoughts, a voice cut through his slumber, hesitantly asking if she could join him for lunch. He jolted awake, completely taken by surprise. Before him stood a girl in the academy uniform, clutching a wrapped lunch. She smiled gently, thanking him once again for helping her previously. She formally introduced herself as Mina. The name and face clicked into place for Alba. He recognized her as the girl from that chaotic day. She confessed her surprise at discovering that the Sir Al from the duel was a fellow first-year student. He admitted the feeling was mutual as she extended the wrapped package toward him. With a slight blush, she explained that she had made him a bento to express her gratitude, hoping he would accept it. His eyes widened in disbelief. A lunch event? The realization struck him with the force of a scripted encounter, but his internal knowledge base came up empty. Who was his character? He mentally reviewed the lineup of heroines and confirmed that no one named Mina was among them. This meant she had to be a side character. Having processed this unexpected development, he rose to his feet. If that was the case, he saw no reason to refuse. He accepted the bento and offered a simple thanks. He decides there's no harm in eating her bento and, with a confident smile, gladly accepts her offer. Mina looks on, her expression filled with hopeful delight. They sit together under a tree, and he enthusiastically compliments the delicious food. Mina is overjoyed to hear his praise. He then insists she drop the formal sir, reminding her they're classmates and she should just call him Al. However, he also offers a warning. Associating with him might lead to others ignoring her, a potential drawback she should consider. She responds with unwavering resolve, stating that this was a decision she made for herself. What others think or how they see her is of no concern. He is moved by her conviction. Clenching his fist with a fierce grin, he declares that he will, of course, do everything in his power to help her in return. Their moment is shattered by an approaching figure. Alice stands over them, hands on her hips and a smug look on her face. She sarcastically asks if Al is having fun, pointing out that he refused to have lunch with her but is now hitting on another girl. In his shock and confusion, Alba shouts out the name, Celia. He quickly tries to defuse the situation, insisting it's a misunderstanding and that he wasn't hitting on her. Sensing the tension, Mina stands and politely excuses herself, stating she's returning to the classroom. She gives a small bow before turning to leave. A tense silence falls as Mina walks away. Alice watches her go with a neutral expression, while Alba remains frozen, caught in the awkward aftermath. As she walks away, Mina's face is cast in shadow, her expression hardening. She comes to a quiet realization, thinking to herself, so that's the saintess. With Mina gone, Alice asks if that was the girl he saved from the runaway horse. Alba confirms it, explaining that Mina is a classmate he helped in town some time ago. He continues his explanation, mentioning that Elena also knew of her and believes she is from the Lupica barony. This new piece of information sparks a sudden realization for Alba. If she's from that family, she will be participating in the next event. A wave of anticipation washes over him as he understands the game's plot is finally starting to move forward. He recalls the first major in-game event from Criana Fantasy, the youth field trip. The headmaster's on-screen message declared its purpose was for students to deepen their bonds with their classmates. This event served as a tutorial, teaching the player how to battle. The objective was to fight magic beasts in Neve Forest while gathering medicinal herbs, a simple task represented by basic combat commands. However, he remembers with a grimace that depending on the choices made, the player could deepen their bond with one of the heroines, a decision that could also set them on a path toward a death flag. The memory fades as the real field trip begins in Neve Forest. A female student expresses her fear of fighting magic beasts, but her classmate reassures her, pointing out that everyone is together and the beasts are only weak ones. Before them stretches the vast, rugged terrain of the forest, with its rocky cliffs and dense woods. A teacher confidently rallies the group, instructing everyone to follow him and boasting that he is not the kind of teacher who would lose to a mere magic beast. Alba watches him, knowing full well that in the event that is about to unfold, this same teacher will find himself in a situation where he can no longer laugh. He recalls that the game presents 4 distinct choices at this critical juncture. The first choice involves Celia. He could choose to rescue and treat the other students alongside her, an option that makes his heart pound just thinking about it. The second choice is to join Elena. With her belief that there is no training greater than actual combat, he could fight the magic beasts by her side. And the third choice centers on Alice, the original protagonist's childhood friend. He could rescue her after she gets separated from the group, an idea she seems to relish with her enthusiastic suggestion to venture deeper into the woods. Elsewhere, another student, the 4th heroine, finds the exercise tedious. She tries to recall a piece of information that eludes her, wondering what the last option was. Alba, however, knows exactly what is coming. He understands that among the 4 choices presented by this event, the protagonist is destined to appear, and he steels himself for the decision he must make. His foreknowledge does not stop the event from unfolding as planned. The students, including a capable Elena and an enthusiastic Alice, engage with the forest's weaker creatures, treating the exercise as a simple training mission. As they venture deeper, Celia and Alice walk together, observing the seemingly peaceful woods around them. Their progress is halted by the teacher, who warns them that they are about to enter the magic beast's primary habitat and must remain calm. But as he speaks, a strange presence fills the air, and a dreadful realization begins to dawn on him. His premonition is confirmed in the most terrifying way possible. A massive, frenzied horde of powerful magic beasts erupts from the trees, charging directly at the students. The teacher's face contorts in horror as he screams, identifying it as a stampede. The sudden onslaught throws the students into a panic. As the teacher yells for everyone to get back, Alba draws his sword, his expression grim. Amid the chaos, Alice frantically searches for Yuri's, while the 4th heroine senses a strange presence distinct from the beasts themselves. The school's battle event has begun, but it is immediately thrown into chaos by the sudden appearance of a great stampede of demonic beasts. Taking command, the teacher orders the students to stay calm and evacuate the forest, declaring that he will act as a decoy to draw the monster's attention. The horde is a terrifying sight, a monstrous collection of snarling creatures, including a massive ape, a fanged serpent, and a boar-like beast, all charging forward with violent intent. Amidst the panic, Alba stands his ground, his mind racing. He knows that his actions during this event will directly affect his bond with the heroines gathered around him. As Elena shouts for others to get behind her, and another student urges Celia to run, Alba realizes he must prove something crucial. He reflects on the one thing he must avoid at all costs. The closer he gets to the heroines, the closer he draws to his own destruction. While he contemplates this grim reality, the teacher can be seen valiantly holding back the beasts. The heroines, Alice, the hooded girl, Elena, and Celia, all watch with expressions of shock and deep concern, their gazes fixed on the unfolding chaos. Elsewhere, Yuri observes the entire event on a small screen, a confident smirk playing on his lips. He anticipates that Alba will follow the path of the original villain, to abandon everything and flee. Like how I'm putting up with this, he scoffs, speaking Alba's predicted thoughts with disdain. Just as Yuri's predicted, Alba turns his back on the battle and sprints away, seemingly abandoning his classmates to their fate and leaving them in stunned disbelief. His classmates are forced to flee on their own. Their desperate escape through the woods is cut short when a massive, bear-like monster erupts from the foliage, roaring as it descends upon the terrified students. The beast lunges directly for Celia. Frozen with fear, she screams out for Alba, her cry a mixture of terror and confusion as she questions where he could have gone. In a blinding flash of light and power, Alba reappears, intercepting the monster's attack with a devastating kick. "Here I come," he roars, arriving at the last possible moment. His attack leaves him standing amidst crackling energy, a fierce grin on his face. A fellow student, her hair adorned with baubles, stares in awe, calling out his name, "Ow!" Having neutralized the immediate threat, he turns to the students he saved. He acknowledges one of them, Shiria, but his tone is firm as he orders her to get out of the forest immediately. Celia, however, declares that she will stay. While tending to an injured student, she admits her fear, but insists that with her power, she can help everyone. Moved by her resolve, Shiria thanks her. She then looks to Al, entrusting him with a mission: save everyone. Celia expresses her unwavering belief that his power is enough to accomplish it. Al agrees, realizing that his personal fears about Doomflag are no longer important. A determined smile crosses his face as he thinks to himself that running away just to save his own skin would be pathetic. As he strengthens his resolve, Elena is elsewhere in the woods, fending off insectoid beasts. From a distance, Celia shouts for Al to be careful, but he confidently tells her to leave it to him as Elena lets out a battle cry. Her blade flashes, carving a path of light through the monsters. She yells for the other students to hurry and run, and they shout their thanks as they flee past the carnage she has wrought. Moments later, Al arrives at her side, kneeling to catch his breath. He asks if she's all right. Standing confidently, Elena tells him not to underestimate her. He rises and tells her his plan. He's heading deeper into the forest and leaving this area to her. Elena agrees, cautioning him that overconfidence is dangerous. They exchange wishes to be careful. With their strategies set, Al charges into the depths of Neve Forest. He knows this event only ends when the boss monster is defeated. As he cuts through waves of demonic beasts, a thought gives him pause. The type of creatures appearing is unusual, and that concerns him. He raced through the forest, his mind grappling with the inconsistencies of the situation. This event was supposed to be for beginners, populated by weak monsters like slimes. Yet, he had already encountered mid-game level threats. A chilling thought took root. Was the scenario deviating from the original game because of his own actions? As if in answer, a monstrous form emerged from the trees ahead. It was a demonic beast with 3 heads, a chimera, its goat-like face glaring forward with malevolent intelligence. The creature's massive lion head let out a deafening roar, confirming his fears. So, even the boss had changed. This was no simple slime. He grimaced, recognizing the beast from his memories. He had struggled against the chimera before, and it was certainly not a tutorial-level opponent. Just then, a frantic voice cried out, "Help me!" His gaze shot towards the creature's back. A young woman was ensnared by its serpentine tail. She looked at him with wide eyes, stammering his name in recognition. The girl, despite her perilous situation, attempted a cheerful introduction. "I'm Elise. Nice to meet you." She then caught herself, her tone shifting to panic. "Wait, this isn't the time for introductions. Help me." He knew exactly who she was. Alice, one of the heroines from the story, his character's childhood friend. She explained casually that she had gotten lost and ended up captured. There was no time for discussion. He charged forward, channeling power into his fist and launching himself toward the chimera's goat head. His attack connected with a blinding flash of energy, striking the beast squarely on its head. But as the light faded, his eyes widened in shock. The attack hadn't worked at all. The goat head was completely unscathed. In response, the lion head roared and unleashed a torrent of flame directly at him. He dodges the fiery assault as Alice, watching from afar, shouts in alarm that the chimera's form is constantly changing. This shifting is the key to its nature. The beast possesses 2 distinct phases. One where it is strong against magic but weak to physical attacks, and another where it is strong against physical force but vulnerable to magic. Alice quickly deduces the situation, calling out that since Alba is using lightning magic, his attacks are useless. The chimera is currently in its magic-resistant phase. The realization strikes Alba. That's precisely why he struggled against in the game. His mind flashes back to the established strategy. The chimera was a demonic beast that couldn't be defeated without cooperation. He recalls how Celia would use magic for an instantaneous approach, allowing Elena to follow up with a sword strike. With this knowledge, he decides not to attack with magic, but to use it for movement, propelling himself forward with a burst of lightning speed. As he closes the distance, his plan forms. He will dispel the magic just before impact and deliver a normal, physical blow. He executes the maneuver, slamming his fist directly into the face of the chimera's lion head. The blow is completely ineffective. The beast roars, mocking that such an ordinary punch is useless and that a human cannot hope to win, the force of its cry sending Alba flying backward. He lands hard, but a powerful aura immediately begins to crackle and surge around his body as he crouches, readying himself. From her captive position, Alice calls him pathetic but tells him to do his best. He retorts that she's in no position to talk. Internally, however, he admits that fighting barehanded is impossible, but smirks, thinking that it's not as if he came without a weapon. He surges forward, calling out for Alice. She is trapped, crying out in pain as the chimera's massive serpentine tail constricts around her torso. The beast's snakehead hisses, tightening its grip. Suddenly, a flash of steel slices through the air. The constricting tail is severed into pieces, spraying dark fluid as it falls away and frees Alice from its deadly hold. The unexpected rescue leaves Alba stunned. He watches as the chimera's goat head is struck by another figure, sending the beast stumbling back with a pained bleat. Standing over the twitching remains of the serpent tail is Yuri's. He holds his sword at the ready, protectively shielding a shaken Alice who leans against him for support. She looks up at her rescuer, telling him with a faint blush that she believed he would come and save her. Yuri's calmly affirms her faith, stating it was a matter of course. Their reunion is cut short as the chimera recovers its footing. Its remaining lion and goat heads turn their combined fury towards Yuri's, who stands his ground without a hint of fear. He responds by lunging forward, his blade a silver blur as he simultaneously strikes both the lion and goat heads with immense force. His eyes narrow with cold determination. He declares that anyone who harms something precious to him is unforgivable. Leaping high, he brings his sword down again. From a distance, Alba watches in awe, stunned by the sheer power on display. He mutters to himself that this strength is what one would expect from a protagonist, but the attack proves ineffective. Alice urgently warns Yuri that the creature can change its weak point. She explains that where physical attacks worked before, they have now stopped working. Yuri realizes she is right, and Alice concludes that this must mean the chimera is now weak to magic. Just as the chimera's defenses shift, a brilliant flash of magical energy erupts from off-panel, striking the beast with immense force. The magical assault connects, causing the chimera to recoil as its three heads roar in unison, a cry of pure agony confirming its new vulnerability. The source of the attack is revealed to be Alba, who stands firm, channeling a concentrated beam of light magic directly into the face of the monster's primary head. He ceases the attack, turning his attention to Yuri's. Alba states plainly that, to be honest, Yuri's is the last person he would ever want to get involved with, but the situation leaves him little choice. Finishing his thought, he offers to lend Yuri's a hand. Yuri's, smirking with his arms crossed, recognizes him as Alcuin and agrees to the alliance, stating it's the fastest way to end the event. From a distance, Alice watches the unexpected team-up with facing the roaring, three-headed chimera. Yuri's asks for a strategy. Alba, standing beside him, dismisses the formality, stating that Al is fine. He then turns to Yuri's, retorting that there is only one possible plan, to fight. With a determined look, Yuri's acknowledges the simple truth, accepting the new name and their unlikely, terrible alliance. With their unspoken agreement made, they launch their assault. Alba charges forward with his sword, yelling that he'll send the beast flying, while Yuri simultaneously surges ahead, his body crackling with lightning. He unleashes a powerful blast of magic that strikes the chimera's lion head directly, forcing a pained roar from the creature. The magical assault creates an opening. Alba leaps high over the beast's flank, shouting for Yuri's to press the attack with him. Observing from a distance, Alice smiles confidently. She muses that the chimera chose the wrong opponents. Their skills are perfectly complementary. If the beast blocks Al's magic, it will be cut down by Yuri's sword, and if it blocks Yuri's sword, it will be struck by Al's magic. Her conclusion is simple. Together, the two of them are invincible. They are, without a doubt, the strongest first-year duo. Alba stands firm amidst the chaos, sword held high, ready for the next move. Even as they fight in sync, Yuri's analyzes his rival's power. He recognizes Al's ability as advanced magic that transforms his body into lightning, a truly terrifying talent. Spurred by this realization, Yuri's unleashes his own formidable power. Crouching as a massive, shadowy beast of pure energy erupts from him. Alba reflected on the formidable skill of a young man named Ulyss. His movements and swordsmanship were so precise they could match even Alba's own incredible speed, a truly frightening level of talent. As he considered this, the group he had just assisted expressed their gratitude. Alice, with her arms thrown wide in celebration, thanked Alcuin profusely for rescuing her. The young man, Ulyss, also bowed his head in thanks, but Alba simply waved it off, telling Ulyss that no thanks were necessary. Ulyss, however, was curious and asked how Alba knew his name. Alice chimed in, explaining that they definitely knew about Alcuin from seeing him in the tournament finals. She then playfully teased Alba, suggesting he checks out strong guys his own age, which left Alba flustered and struggling for a response. She quickly clarified the connection, explaining that she and Ulyss were childhood friends from the same village. With pride, she added that Ulyss was considered the strongest man there. Alba processed this information, understanding their shared background was the setting for their relationship. Ulyss then elaborated on his bond with Alice, stating plainly that she was like a little sister to him. This declaration seemed to catch Alice by surprise, a flicker of disappointment crossing her face as she quietly processed being called a little sister. She mused to herself that with her hands full dealing with Ulyss, she felt more like an older sister. With the immediate danger past, Ulyss suggested they should head back to rejoin the others. Alba, however, waved them off, explaining that they were in the Holy Wolf group while he was in the Holy Horse group, and so he would be heading back alone. His attempt to part ways was met with protest. Alice and Ulyss called out to him, insisting he shouldn't be so distant and that they could travel part of the way together as friends. But Alba's refusal was sharp and absolute. He declared that he had no desire to get dragged along with them any further, labeling them as walking doom flags. Despite the harsh rejection, Ulyss turned to him with a brilliant, sincere smile. He told Alba he would see him later and promised he would never forget his kindness. The unexpected warmth of the gesture left Alba momentarily stunned, internally pleading for him not to look at him with such a smile. As Alba walked away, separating from the two figures, a stark truth settled over the moment. Their destiny was not one of friendship, but to be rival enemies fated to kill one another. He watches his fated enemy depart, a grim thought crossing his mind. It would have been so much simpler if Ulyss were a worse person. Standing over the corpse of the chimera, he suddenly pauses, his attention drawn to the surrounding woods. His gaze fixes on a large tree in the distance. He calls out, his voice cutting through the quiet clearing, accusing an unseen observer of watching their battle. He elaborates, static electricity still dancing around him. Hiding is futile, he explains, as his lightning-charged state heightens his senses, allowing him to detect any nearby presence. He issues a direct challenge for the hidden figure to reveal themselves, demanding to know if they are an enemy or not. A flicker of surprise crosses his face as he processes the presence he feels. In response, a young woman materializes from behind the tree, her form shimmering into view as an invisibility effect dissipates. She is utterly stunned, unable to comprehend how someone could have pierced her invisible camouflage. The woman offers a calm, almost placid expression and introduces herself. She calls him out, states her name is Lily, and adds the peculiar title of one of the main heroines. He is taken aback, questioning how she could possibly know his name. Lily explains that every first-year student knows of him after his conspicuous performance in the dueling arena. The reminder sends a jolt of frustration through Alba, who internally curses Walby for the duel. His frustration subsiding, he questions Lily about her actions, asking why she was hiding while the others were fighting. She replies plainly that she was simply observing. He assumes she means she was observing the chimera, but she corrects him, pointing away from the beast's corpse. No, that way, she says, leaving him perplexed as to what she was truly watching. He watched, stunned, as the massive chimera dissolved into wisps of black smoke before his very eyes. The creature simply vanished, leaving him and Lily staring at the empty space where it had stood. As he tried to process what happened, she began to explain the phenomenon. Lily identified it as a concept from magical studies, the theory of other-dimensional phenomenon fabrication. The chimera, she clarified, was a fabricated copy transferred from another dimension, and it vanished because its magical power source disappeared. She elaborated that magic itself is different from natural phenomena. It is a rule violation. While creating fire in this world normally requires a physical cause like friction, magic can create it from nothing, breaking the established rules of reality. Applying this principle, she concluded that someone had used this special magic to fabricate a copy of a creature called a chimera from another world. Alba processed this. The beast was a fake, and the one who summoned it was likely targeting him. Lily confirmed his suspicion. Meanwhile, watching from a high cliff, two shadowy figures observed the aftermath. One, a woman with a confident smirk, commented on her surprise that a first-year brat from Criana Academy could take out a chimera, mockingly praising the school's impressiveness. Her cloaked companion replied matter-of-factly that Criana is, of course, one of the three great authorities, standing alongside the royal family and the church in power and influence. The woman then informed her companion, Yuri, that she was out of magical power for the time being and couldn't use her magic. Yuri simply acknowledged that it couldn't be helped. Back on the training grounds, Alba decided it was best to retreat for the day. As he spoke, the voice of the distant woman echoed, stating that there would be another chance. Yuri questioned her leader, Milady, suggesting she should have handled the matter herself. Milady, with a sly smile, replied that her powers were unfortunately not suited for groups. Elsewhere, Yuri's considered the news of a mage who creates magical beasts. He narrowed his eyes, wondering if this development was related to his own destruction flag. He gazes out at the rugged landscape, his resolve hardening. If this new mage is indeed his enemy, he will show no mercy. Meanwhile, in the forest, Alba tells Lily that since the chimera has vanished, he believes their enemy is no longer in the area, and he's heading back to the others. He then turns to her, asking who taught her magic. Lily replies that she is self-taught, a claim that piques his interest. She smiles faintly, her gaze fixed on him. She states plainly that she has taken an interest in him. As she waves goodbye, calling him by name, a sudden memory strikes Alba. He realizes with a shock that this event is where his relationship with Lily is supposed to deepen. Elsewhere, Celia calls out for help as the remaining magical beasts begin to vanish into thin air. Shirian notes their disappearance, prompting Elena to conclude that the entire stampede was someone's deliberate creation. From the shadows of his hood, Yuri watches the scene unfold with a quiet, knowing smile. The thought sends Alba into a mental spiral. He wonders if he has just advanced the destruction flags with all of the heroines, including Celia, Elena, Shiria, and even Yuri's. He pushes the troubling thoughts aside as he walks back towards his classmates. Seeing them all cheering and safe, he feels a wave of relief, glad that everyone is unharmed. In an office somewhere, a well-dressed bipedal cat reports on the incident. He confirms that despite the attack by a fabricated magical beast, there were 0 casualties. The headmaster, standing before a large window in his office, thanks the cat, Tamakuro, for the report. Tamakuro then questions whether the enemy's aim was the first-year students or another target entirely. Elsewhere, an elderly man with a severe expression considers the situation, noting the enemy has an unknown identity. He addresses a shadowy group led by Milady, stating that while he doesn't know who they are or where they came from, their purpose is. In the aftermath of the chaos, A report is given in a dense forest clearing. The events are confirmed. Imitations of magic beasts were indeed the assailants. On the scene, Knight Commander Roy Aricia receives the report and immediately issues a command. He orders everyone to search the entire forest, his voice echoing with authority as his armored knights respond in unison. This unexpected turn of events marks a significant deviation from the planned scenario, altering the path for Alba. He narrows his eyes, a grim realization dawning on him. The target of this orchestrated attack, he deduces, was the first-year students. Meanwhile, the students themselves have been evacuated. An elderly woman welcomes them warmly, thanking them for their hard work during the field trip and informing them that, as scheduled, they will be staying at this location for the night. Her audience, a group of weary and bewildered students including Alba, Shiria, and Walby, listens to her announcement with mixed expressions of relief and confusion. She gestures towards a grand, traditional inn, explaining that it houses a magical bath with the power to heal injuries and illnesses. She encourages them all to rest and recover from the day's ordeal. Despite the offer of rest, Alba seems unfazed, casually scratching the back of his head. He remarks with a wry smile that the Academy is quite bold to reframe such an incident as a mere class. Beside him, Shiria looks at him, puzzled, and asks what incident he is referring to. He turns his attention to Celia and Elena. He asks Celia directly if the magic beasts that attacked them were truly part of a practical combat class. Before she can answer, Elena interjects, her expression serious, questioning what the monstrous creature they faced truly was. Alba clarifies for them that the beasts were merely constructs created by magic, prepared by the Academy as part of the official story. While some of their classmates chatter excitedly about the hot springs, Elena explains her understanding of the situation to Alba. She reasons that it is more convenient to hide the truth to avoid causing a panic, concluding that this must be the Academy's judgment. Alba listens, a thoughtful expression on his face, conceding that she has a point. Elsewhere, however, not everyone has been so easily placated. Yuri stands with two other students, his expression sharp and knowing. He states plainly that something has happened. One of his companions, a girl with glasses, agrees, adding that just like them, there are probably other students who have also sensed the truth behind the facade. Alba and Elena stand with serious expressions, flanking a completely bewildered Celia, who seems to have no grasp of their current circumstances. As Celia voices her confusion, Shiria approaches, apologizing and promising to explain the situation. They have arrived at their destination, Nialu's magical bath. Inside, in the men's quarters, Alba throws himself onto the floor, rolling on the tatami mats with pure delight. His classmates watch him, baffled, as one asks what on earth he is doing. He explains with a blissful expression that he is savoring the soul of Japan, noting that since this is a game world, a mix of Japanese and Western styles is to be expected. As his friends discuss getting dinner after their bath, one jokingly warns him not to peek on the women. The word peeking strikes Alba with sudden, shocking clarity, triggering a profound realization. His mind instantly recalls a specific game mechanic from Criana Fantasy, a secret event titled Peeking at the Women's Bath, which presents the player with a clear choice. He remembers the consequences. Choosing to peep allows one to see the heroines in a suggestive state, but at a steep cost. Their affection level plummets to -1, making any future romance impossible. He understands it's a hidden trap, an option to be avoided for a successful playthrough. But then, a new thought emerges. If he doesn't want to raise their affection anyway, could this be a way to escape his death flags? Meanwhile, in the steamy open-air bath, the women relax. Elena complains that her large chest gets in the way of her sword, but Celia, washing her back, reassures her that she's cute, causing Elena to blush. Their light-hearted conversation shifts as Shiria asks Elena directly if she was Alba's fiancée. Elena quietly confirms that she was his ex-fiancée, prompting Shiria to pointedly ask what their relationship is like now. Over in the men's bath, Alba's spiky hair briefly appears over the top of the wooden partition separating the two bathing areas. He sinks back into the steaming water, surrounded by other male students enjoying their soak. His thoughts are interrupted when Yuri calls out his name. Startled, Alba reminds himself that this isn't about wanting to peep. It's a necessary action to avoid his death flags. He flinches as Yuri asks what's wrong, observing that he's just spacing out. Internally, Alba curses his own hesitation. Yuri presses him, asking about the strange look on his face. Alba, sweating, deflects by claiming it's perfect timing, but then decides against his plan, thinking he can't do something so lame after all. Meanwhile, under the crescent moon, Elena continues her explanation in the women's bath. She clarifies that she is grateful to Alba for his help regarding the situation with Walby. Shiria then turns the conversation to Celia, asking what she thinks about living with Alba and bluntly questioning if she likes him. A flustered Celia immediately denies it. She clarifies her feelings, explaining that Alba is an amazing person whom she can respect. Elena smiles and agrees, adding that it's the same for her as she is grateful that he saved her. A cheerful voice suddenly interjects. The guild receptionist waves enthusiastically, exclaiming that Alba saved her too. Both Celia and Elena turn in surprise, wondering who this newcomer is. The receptionist continues to beam, leaving Celia and Elena to stare, momentarily speechless at the unexpected addition to their conversation. She and the others in the bath formally introduce themselves. The guild receptionist states her name is Alice, from the Finner group. Celia introduces herself as Celia Margaret, and Elena as Elena Persia from the Unicorn group. Alice insists they drop the formalities and just use their first names. Beneath the starry night sky, their conversation continues. Elena asks Alice if Al saved her from the chimera. Alice confirms this, adding that after the chimera was defeated, all the other magic beasts disappeared as well. She gushes that Al is incredibly strong. Her confirmation leaves Celia wondering who could be targeting students with such terrifying imitation magic beasts. Alice's attention then fixes on Celia, asking why she's staring. She directly questions if Celia is the saintess, to which a flustered Celia affirms. The revelation is too much for Alice to handle. With a cry of excitement, she declares she can't take it anymore and lunges towards Celia. She begins groping Celia's chest, apologizing but explaining she's just overjoyed to be able to touch the saintess. Celia protests loudly, telling her to stop. Elena dryly remarks on Alice's strange behavior, noting that Celia had been touching her chest earlier as well. Suddenly, a piercing scream from outside shatters the moment. The women turn in alarm towards the source of the sound. Their shock turns to confusion as Alice immediately accuses Al of being a pervert, shouting and wondering aloud if he's naked. Celia is stunned into silence while Elena turns away, thoroughly disgusted. The commotion seems to have come from just over the partition separating the baths. In the men's section, a naked and soaking Alba reels back from the impact of a wooden bucket. Alice stands over the partition, having thrown it, calling him a scoundrel. Alba frantically tries to explain that it's a misunderstanding. He heard a scream and rushed over, only then realizing his idiotic mistake. He finds himself being lectured in the men's hot spring by a calm, dark-haired young man. The stranger acknowledges that Alba heard a scream and rushed to help, but firmly states that peeking is not acceptable. The young man continues, adding with a chuckle that using lightning magic in the hot spring is also a bad idea. A diagrammatic view shows the aftermath. Alba floating unconscious amidst several other stunned bathers, all electrocuted by his uncontrolled discharge. Despite the chaos he caused, Alba lies back in the water under the crescent moon with a satisfied, slightly bruised expression. He internally concludes that the result still counts as a success for the peaking event. Later, now clad in a yukata, the dark-haired young man finds a dejected Alice and gently pats her head. He apologizes, claiming the commotion was his fault. Alice laments that she couldn't help herself, overwhelmed by being so close to the saintess she admires. The entire group gathers. Alice points at Alba, calling him a troublesome woman, prompting his confused denial. Celia then steps in, admitting that it was her fault for screaming so loudly in the first place. Alba asks for clarification, still lost. Elena glares at him, declaring her hatred for perverts and telling him to commit seppuku. Celia seems conflicted, glad that his affection rating is dropping, but hurt by the situation. Alba retorts that he saw nothing, and they're just jealous. Alice explains that the saintess is a very important person to her and the dark-haired man. Their home village holds strong legends of a hero who protected the goddess of fate, and they were raised on the goddess's teachings, instilling a deep reverence for her avatar. Despite this professed reverence, Elena points out that Alice had just been groping that very important person's chest. A flustered Alice can only offer a sheepish apology to Elena. With the misunderstanding cleared, introductions begin. Alba internally identifies the young man as Yuri's, wryly thinking of him as the story's rightful protagonist. Yuri's formally introduces himself as Alice's childhood friend, followed by Celia and Elena. He suggests to Celia and Elena that since they're classmates, they can drop the formal titles. Alice playfully pats his shoulder, teasing him for being so serious. Both Celia and Elena agree with Yuri's, easing the tension between the two groups. Despite the newfound camaraderie, Alba stood apart from the group, his arms crossed, and his expression somber as a door slid open nearby. He was interrupted by the others emerging from the building. Yuri's called out to him, and Alice announced she was starving. Alba, without turning, stated that it was almost time for dinner and that he would go on ahead. As he walked, the cheerful chatter of his friends and their new acquaintances followed, but it did little to lift his spirits. His face remained a mask of discontent. He berated himself internally, admitting a bitter truth. He was jealous of Yuri's. The thought solidified with painful clarity. In this story, he was not the protagonist, but the villain. His internal turmoil was momentarily forgotten as they arrived for their meal, a lavish spread of traditional dishes laid out before them. The delicious food quickly improved his mood. Alba dug in with gusto, exclaiming how good it was, while Celia and Elena ate with more reserved appreciation. Taking a moment to sip his tea, Alba's thoughts turned to someone else. He asked the group if anyone had seen Mina, reminding them she was the first-year student they had met earlier that day during lunch. The question hung in the air, and the light-hearted atmosphere vanished. Celia turned to Elena, her expression suddenly serious. She explained that her father had told her some shocking news that morning, something she could hardly believe herself. As Alba pressed Elena for information, Celia delivered the devastating news about Mina's parents, the heads of the Lupica family. They were murdered. The horrific revelation cast a pall over the night, the silence broken only by the sounds of the evening outside the grand building where they were staying. In a quiet room, a small doll sits beside an ornate chest, a silent witness before a closed door, evoking a sense of childhood innocence now past. Behind that door, Mina kneels on the floor, her body collapsing against the side of her bed as a wave of anguish washes over her. Her gaze falls upon a framed photograph of her family, a happy moment frozen in time, and her mind screams the question, why did this have to happen? The overwhelming grief becomes too much to bear, and she buries her face in the bedsheets, her cries echoing in the empty room. As a crescent moon hangs in the night sky, a silent, desperate plea for help emanates from the grieving girl's heart. Elsewhere, the somber mood has settled over Alba, Celia, and Elena. Elena breaks the heavy silence, confirming that the killer has not yet been caught. Her words cause Alba's expression to harden, his thoughts focused entirely on Mina and her terrible situation. He internally questions the turn of events, recalling that Mina was meant to be a side character, uninvolved in the main scenario of Criana fantasy. A dreadful worry surfaces. Will her parents' deaths somehow affect his own death flags? As he contemplates this, the group sits in shared silence. Elena voices their collective sentiment, wishing there was something they could do to help her. Celia then speaks, her voice soft but firm with empathy. She observes that death is too painful a burden for one person to carry alone. She was right. Alba, sitting with his friends, agreed with Celia's somber words. He reflected on her expression, one that had witnessed countless deaths in her role as the saintess, yet held a profound kindness amidst the sorrow. Elena, observing from the side, affirmed Celia's wisdom. He pushed aside any thoughts of predetermined fate or death flags. Such things, he decided, had nothing to do with the current situation. Looking toward Mina, he made a vow, declaring that as one of her friends, he would do everything in his power to help her. His expression hardened, his jaw set with resolve. He clenched his fist, his determination solidifying into a single, powerful thought. He would be. Alba Euricia leans back, a look of pure, blissful contentment on his face as he daydreams. His pleasant reverie is violently shattered by a sharp rap on the head. His teacher, a stern-looking elderly woman, reprimands him, reminding him that they are in class. Beside him, Celia flinches in surprise. Despite such minor disruptions, peaceful school life continues. It has been a month since the field trip, and the calendar now reads June. The world of Criana fantasy operates on a 12-month calendar, with 4 distinct seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, that mirror the lifestyle of the real world. Within this structure, the academy experience is designed to span 3 years of a student's life, from age 16 to 18. By attending classes and participating in freely chosen events, the protagonist is meant to level up their abilities. This progression allows them to pursue one of several grand destinies, uncovering ancient mysteries to become a hero, seeking legendary magic to become a great sage, mastering commerce to become a finance king, or excelling at the guild to become the adventure king. And then, there's the ultimate goal of achieving a fulfilling romance with the heroines. In the hallway, Yuri is greeted warmly by Celia and Elena. He smiles and greets them in return as Alba watches from a distance. He stands apart, leaning against the staircase, fully aware of his own path. As the reincarnated Alba Euricia, he has no intention of chasing such glories. His role is immutable, no matter the event. Alba's fate is to play the villain to the story's protagonist, and in the end, his destiny is to fail without fail. With this knowledge, he turns his gaze forward, his expression calm and determined. He is startled from his thoughts by a voice calling his name. Yuri stands before him, a calm expression on his face, while Alba flinches in surprise. Recovering, he confronts Yuri's, demanding to know what he's doing in a place like that. Alba recalls the unwritten rule of this world. The villain is destined to face ruin at the hands of the protagonist. Before Yuri's can answer, Celia and 2 other girls join them. Celia excitedly tells Alba that Yuri's achieved the top score in the Fenrir class practical exam, calling it amazing. Yuri's modestly dismisses it as a fluke. The other girls share their own reactions. Elena smirks, suggesting she should ask Yuri's for a sparring match. Celia sweats, admitting she was absolutely hopeless at sword practice. The third girl, Yuri's childhood friend, proudly declares her admiration for him. As the 3 girls continue to fawn over Yuri's, Alba stands apart, observing the scene from a distance with his hands in his pockets. His expression is unreadable, a mixture of contemplation and perhaps resentment, as he watches the protagonist effortlessly draw others to him. With a sudden, dismissive wave, he turns to leave. "Good for you," he says flatly to Yuri's, adding that he failed completely. He walks away, telling them he'll see them later. As he walks off, Yuri's wonders aloud if his bragging made Alba feel bad. Celia reassures him, stating that Alba always prefers to be alone. However, the childhood friend offers a different theory, suggesting that Alba is jealous because Celia only praises Yuri's. The word echoes in his mind. Jealousy? He considers the possibility while Celia, the subject of the supposed jealousy, smiles warmly in the background. Elena watches the exchange with a sharp gaze. When the other girl comments on her harshness, Elena states coolly that if that is the case, he is being childish. Celia, oblivious, asks Elena what is the matter. Her sharp gaze followed Alba's retreating form, a suspicion forming in her mind. Beside her, Celia could only watch with wide, concerned eyes. Meanwhile, Alba walked on, his purpose clear in his own mind. He lived solely to ensure he did not become the original villain he was destined to be. To that end, he resolved to interact with the main characters as little as possible, preferring to spend his time alone as he had when he was shut away in the mountains. He settled onto the grass to nap, but his solitude was interrupted by someone approaching, startling him. He looked up to see Mina standing over him. She greeted him softly by his nickname, and he responded in kind, sitting up. He recognized her as a background character in this world, someone safe. She noted that it had been a while, and he agreed. She then asked if he wanted to eat lunch together, an offer he readily accepted. He felt at ease, knowing she was someone completely unrelated to the death flags that haunted his future. As she unpacked their meal, she teased him, remarking that he always ate his lunch far too early during the second period. Her light-hearted comment broke the tension, and soon they were laughing together, enjoying their meal under the trees as Alba ate with gusto. He realized that this was why he felt so comfortable. With her, he could speak without any hesitation. Noticing a smudge on his cheek, Mina gently leaned in and wiped it clean with a handkerchief. The playful mood softened into something more sincere. Mina looked at him with a steady, supportive gaze and promised that she would be there for him. He lowered his head, acknowledging that he had heard about her situation and quietly affirmed his understanding. She thanked him, a gentle smile on her face, confessing she knew it was the right decision to seek him out. Looking at her with renewed determination, Alba declared that he would help her, just as he had back then. Her eyes widened in surprise at his words. He watches as Mina, blushing with a bright smile, confesses that she knew talking to him would restore her energy. As they stand there, a voice calls out his name. It is Celia, who knew she would find him there. She's accompanied by another girl with pigtails and glasses. Celia greets Mina, who stammers a hello, seemingly flustered by the saintess's sudden appearance. The girl with Celia, beaming with excitement, declares their timing to be perfect. She enthusiastically invites both him and Mina to a gathering at her house after school, leaving them both momentarily surprised. With a wide, infectious smile, she throws her hands out and joyfully announces that everyone should have a party together. The sudden declaration leaves both Alba and Mina bewildered. Standing before a large, unfamiliar house, they both question the purpose of this impromptu party. Their confusion is answered the moment they step inside. A chorus of voices erupts, shouting in unison, "Happy birthday, Al!" as confetti fills the air. Celia, Elena, Shiria, and their friends are all there to celebrate. He stands frozen amidst the celebration, completely taken aback. A nervous laugh escapes him as the reality of the situation sinks in. It is a birthday event. The surprise triggers a distant memory of the game's initial setup. He recalls a prompt on a screen asking for a date of birth, an input that would trigger a special event on that very day. He remembers the rules of that event. Heroines with high affection would gather to celebrate, while a low standing meant spending the day alone. The thought is jarring. In the chaos of his reincarnation, he had been living this life without ever knowing the date of his own character's birthday. Back in the present, surrounded by his friends, the girl with pigtails playfully chides him for being so cold as to keep his birthday a secret. Another girl reveals the date, June 6th. The revelation stuns Alba, who realizes this is the first he has ever heard of it. He reacts with flustered shock as Shiria teases him, accusing him of sulking all afternoon because no one had wished him a happy birthday. He shouts back in denial, insisting that wasn't the case. The others join in the conversation. Yuri apologizes for the suddenness of the party, explaining they didn't have time to get presents. Elena bluntly states that it's Alba's own fault for keeping his birthday a secret, and that he should just be grateful. Alice then playfully calls Elena out, questioning her tough act since she was the one who knew about the birthday, causing Elena to become flustered herself. Amidst the chatter, a young girl with braided pigtails steps forward. She introduces herself as Mina from the Holy Bird class, and politely thanks everyone for inviting her. Following her introduction, Alice cheerfully welcomes Mina, remarking that it's more fun when everyone makes noise together. Yuri also formally introduces himself, and Mina thanks them both. Elena then addresses Mina, expressing her relief at seeing her well. She formally states that the House of Persia is an ally to the House of Lupika, assuring Mina that she can rely on them in times of trouble. Finally, Celia turns to Mina with a gentle smile, formally introducing herself. Mina, slightly flustered, returns the greeting. Surrounded by the group, Alba internally despairs. He reflects on his decision from that very afternoon to interact with the game's main characters as little as possible, a plan now thoroughly ruined. His thoughts are cut short when Celia calls his name, announcing that she was able to prepare something properly for him. He looks up, his expression shifting to one of surprise. Following his gaze, the group stands together, smiling warmly. Celia is at the center, holding a birthday cake adorned with fruit and a lit candle in the shape of the number 16. She presents the cake to him, urging him to make a wish and blow out the candle. As he quietly agrees, he has an internal realization, wondering if the goddess of fate would forgive him for indulging, just this once, in such a fleeting, happy event. He closes his eyes, making a simple wish, to be able to live peacefully from now on. The thought is abruptly interrupted as Alice playfully smashes a piece of birthday cake right into his face. His friends react with amusement to the sudden mess. Elena covers her mouth to hide a giggle. Yuri smiles awkwardly, and his friend laughs without restraint. Amid the laughter, Celia gently begins to wipe the frosting from Alba's cheek. Nearby, Mina clasps her hands together, her face alight with pure, unrestrained joy. Her smile is wide and radiant, her eyes crinkling with happiness as she savors the cheerful, chaotic moment. He, in turn, accepts the playful assault with a calm smile, licking a bit of frosting from his lips. For now, his wish for a peaceful life is all he asks for. Sometime later, the birthday celebration concludes, and the group makes their way out onto the town's cobblestone streets. As they walk, a portion of the group prepares to split off. Elena states she will head back with Yuri's and the others, since they live in the school dorms. Alice waves a cheerful goodbye to Al, Celia, and Mina. After the others depart, Alba turns to Mina and offers to walk with her, explaining that he lives in the same direction. He privately resolves that it's best to be careful, considering the past events involving her parents. During their stroll, Mina reflects that Alba is kind to everyone, which must mean he doesn't feel any special jealousy over her. Alice, noticing her friend's expression, leans in to tease her, asking if she was jealous, much to Mina's surprise. Their walk concludes in front of a large building. Alba turns to Celia, ignoring Mina for a moment, and says, "Let's go, Celia." His sudden declaration leaves Celia momentarily confused. He corrects his earlier statement, clarifying to Mina that he is not leaving her alone at home because he is, after all, her bodyguard. Mina lets out a small giggle, and when Alba questions her strange laugh, she playfully dismisses it as nothing. As they continue walking beneath the night sky, he asks Mina if she is at home by herself. She explains that she is not, as knights are currently acting as guards. Hearing this, Alba expresses his relief. Celia then extends a warm invitation, telling Mina-san that if she's comfortable with their house, she should feel free to come and play anytime. Alba agrees, adding that they will help with whatever they can if she finds herself in trouble. Visibly moved by their kindness, Mina stands frozen, stammering as she tries to respond. She lowers her gaze, a pensive and slightly troubled expression settling on her face. A moment later, they arrive before a large, gated mansion. Mina announces that this is her house and thanks them both, but dismisses whatever she was about to say with a simple, "No, it's nothing." Alba accepts this and bids her farewell. As he and Celia walk away from the estate, waving goodbye, Celia remarks that Mina looked like she wanted to say something more. Alba quietly agrees. She worries that Mina might not reach out, but Alba confidently reassures her, stating that she will tell them if anything happens because they are friends. Celia agrees that he is right. Continuing down the now completely dark street, he observes how late it has gotten and tells Celia it's time for them to head home as well. In response to the darkness, Alba suddenly erupts in a brilliant aura of light, startling Celia. He explains that it's not just for illumination. In this state, he can also sense suspicious presences. He then calls out into the empty street, demanding that anyone hiding reveal themselves. Celia remarks on how convenient his magic is. He unleashes a brilliant flash of light, his voice echoing through the empty street as he demands to know who is there. Beside him, Celia looks on in shock, calling out his name in surprise. The light subsides, revealing only the quiet, empty rooftops under the night sky. He had felt a definite presence watching them, but now there's no one to be found. His eyes narrow in suspicion. He wonders if the observer simply disappeared. From a high vantage point, the two stand alone on the cobblestone street, the source of the intense scrutiny having vanished without a trace. Elsewhere, a cloaked figure dematerializes, impressed. They acknowledge that the student, just as someone named Yuri had warned, was able to sense their invisibility. Still, they dismiss him as nothing more than a brat. The figure's face is revealed, marked by a sinister grin and a strange symbol on their tongue. They gloat that it is only a little longer until the young Mrs. Magic Beast creation mana is full. With a wicked laugh, the figure's thoughts echo as they vanish completely. Soon, it will be time for God killing. The scene shifts to a more peaceful moment. Yuri's walks alongside two female classmates, who both raise their hands in a friendly greeting. Back on the street, the light around Alba's hand dissipates. He speaks with quiet intensity, as if to someone far away, telling them to enjoy themselves until the time comes. His message reaches its intended target, a young woman with long, light hair. She listens, her expression somber, as he finishes his warning, to enjoy her youth with a grim expression, Alba Iricia contemplates the imminent future. One of the most important events at Criana Academy is about to begin. His serious mood is broken by an enthusiastic voice making a solemn promise. A young woman swears an oath to fight fair and square, utilizing the righteous power and hearts cultivated at the academy. She delivers this oath from a grand stage before the assembled student body. It is Celia Margaret, the first-year representative for the Unicorn Group, officially kicking off the annual sports festival. Watching from the sidelines, the headmaster and other faculty members look on with approval. He expresses his eagerness to see how the students of the Unicorn, Fenrir, and Holy Bird groups have grown, urging them all to give it their best. The groups he mentioned are central to the competition, as participation is determined by the group chosen at the start of the term. The Holy Bird group fosters great growth in magic power, Fenrir in strength and stamina, and Unicorn offers a balance of both. A victory in the festival also promises to raise a heroine's affection for one participant. However, these incentives mean nothing. Alba, a member of the Unicorn group, stands amongst his cheering teammates with a weary look. He has absolutely no intention of winning, determined to stay as far away from any potential death flags as possible. Behind him, Celia and Elena agree to do their best. His lack of enthusiasm is a stark contrast to his teammates. Elena fiercely declares that she will bring victory to the name of House Persia, while Celia is simply thrilled for her first sports festival. Watching them, Alba can only think how overly invested they are. From the crowd, Alice encourages him to show some spirit. But the Unicorn group is not the only one brimming with confidence. Yuri's and Alice rally their Fenrir group teammates, with Alice shouting that they will not lose and Yuri's confidently proclaiming that victory belongs to them. Her challenge carries across the field. Alice tells Alba she won't be holding back, and Yuri's adds that he won't lose to Alcuin either. Faced with this direct rivalry, Alba internally recognizes the situation as the protagonist route, the canon path. Amidst the brewing rivalry, a calmer voice emerges from the Holy Bird group. Mina wishes everyone a good competition with a gentle smile. Her teammates behind her, however, whisper worriedly, warning her to be careful because that guy is bad news. She stands with her teammates before the festival begins. One of them declares that while they are all enemies for the day, she hopes for a fair fight, noting that Mina seems to be taking this very seriously. Mina kviet liogris. She smiles gently, thinking to herself that she just wants to make some wonderful memories. Her teammates agree, but Yuri's offers a word of caution, reminding Mina not to let her guard down against the Holy Bird group because of their high magic power. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoes nearby, causing both Yuri's and Alba to flinch. The sound comes from a girl whose face is cast in shadow, her expression hidden behind an unsettling grin. Yuri's turns his attention to the girl, remarking that Mina is concealing a vast amount of magic power. He then directly addresses the newcomer, asking for her name. She simply replies, Lily. Lily, a member of the Holy Bird group, smiles with an air of mystery. She finds Mina's hidden potential intriguing and wonders aloud what kind of magic she uses, her amusement evident. As she walks away, still chuckling, Alba calls out, telling her not to leave after such a creepy laugh. Yuri's holds him back, noting that Lily is a mysterious girl and teasingly informs Alba that there's a potential future route where he ends up with her. In another area, Kate Sith announces that he will be handling the commentary for the events. The cat-like commentator then declares the first event for the first years, the foot race. He specifies that magic is banned, making it a pure battle of stamina. At the starting line, Mina, Celia, and Alice take their positions, each ready to give their all. At the signal, the race begins. The crowd cheers as the runners surge forward. Yuri's childhood friend immediately pulls ahead, her impressive speed a result of having grown up chasing Yuri's around the mountains. However, Alba is nowhere to be seen on the track. He sits alone on the sidelines, having decided to skip the race. His classmates wonder where he has gone, but Alba is resolute, believing that staying away from death flags is far more important than winning. With the foot race concluded, Kate Sith announces the next event, a battle of magic called Giant Rock Rolling. Each class must use their combined magic power to propel a massive, sentient-looking boulder toward the finish line. His voice booms over the festival grounds, announcing the next event, a battle of strength. While this unfolds, Alba sits apart from the crowd, meditating over a peculiar rock during his lunch break. Elsewhere, his friends search for him. Celia asks where the idiot owl is hiding, and Mina explains he claimed to be going to the restroom but never returned. Lily, standing nearby, simply remarks that it's just like him, confident that when it comes to magic control, she is unbeatable. Following the announcement, the Kambara battle begins. Yuri's, taking the lead, rallies the other students with a cry to charge forward without fear. Elena, wielding her own practice rod, glances aside with an annoyed expression, muttering Alba's name under her breath. As the students prepare for the melee, Mina nervously admits that she is quite bad with weapons. Kate Sith's voice reassures the participants from the announcer's booth, explaining that they are using soft magic rods. A direct hit will only cause numbness, so they need not worry and should fight with all their might to survive. With that, the battle erupts. The arena becomes a chaotic flurry of motion as dozens of students clash, their magic rods swinging wildly in a massive free-for-all. From his elevated post, Kate Sith observes the sprawling battle royale, noting that amidst the chaos, two particular combatants are in a league entirely their own. Those two are Yuri's and Elena. They meet in the center of the arena, their rods clashing with a force that sends sparks flying, their movements a blur of skilled offense and defense. They lock weapons, both gritting their teeth from the exertion. Yuri's compliments Elena on her strength, remarking on her intense pressure. She returns the sentiment, acknowledging that he holds his own well. She internally assesses that while his technique is still unrefined compared to hers, his immense raw talent more than makes up for it. Watching the spectacular duel from the sidelines, Alba rests his chin on his hand, a faint, knowing smile on his face. He thinks to himself that Yuri's is playing the part of the protagonist perfectly. His smile vanishes, replaced by dawning comprehension. He realizes that this event, Yuri's fighting evenly with Elena, is one of the original storylines required to raise her affection for the hero. The word original echoes in his mind, triggering a dreadful understanding. He recalls the inevitable plot progression. The protagonist raises the heroine's affection, which then prompts the villain, Alba, to steal the heroine away. This act forces a final confrontation where the protagonist must fight the villain to save her. He is not just an observer. He is a key player in a story that has already been written. He recoiled at the thought. If the protagonist and heroine follow the original story's path, it inevitably leads to his own ruin, a death flag. He quickly corrected himself, realizing that he was different from the Alba in the game. With newfound resolve, he made a silent vow. He would absolutely not steal the protagonist's heroine. Meanwhile, the sports festival continued, with the current scores displayed for all to see. The Fenrir group led with 250 points, followed by the Holy Bird group at 230, and the Unicorn group trailing with 200. Among the competitors, Elena tried to bolster Celia's spirits, reminding her that their Unicorn group was in last place. She pointed out that the final event awarded double points, making a comeback entirely possible. However, the person Celia needed most was nowhere to be seen. Alba was lounging on the sidelines, fast asleep. From the stands, Celia spotted him and erupted in fury, shouting for the delinquent to wake up. The final event for the first years was then detailed, a mixed-pair obstacle race. The girls would start, navigate an obstacle, and then switch with their male partners, who would face their own set of challenges to reach the goal. The announcer, Kate Sith, took center stage with a wide grin, preparing to reveal the chosen representatives for each group. He began with the Unicorn group, announcing the pair as Al and Celia. The news struck Celia with utter shock. As she stood stunned, Elena began organizing the others to find the still missing Alba, who was just beginning to stir from his nap, completely bewildered. Next, the Fenrir group's representatives were named, Yuri's and Alice. Yuri's turned to his partner with a confident smile, ready for the challenge, and Alice assured him she was ready. Finally, the Holy Bird group's pair was announced as Mash and Lily. While Mina cheered her on, Lily looked thoroughly unimpressed, muttering that it was a drag. Her partner, Mash, appeared nervous but declared he would do his best. Despite her calm demeanor, Alba sits dejectedly on the ground, overwhelmed by his predicament. Kate Sith appears before him, insisting that he cannot simply skip the final event as the goal looms in the distance. He is quickly found by his fellow students, including Alice and Shiria, who demand to know where he has been. Internally, Alba laments his situation, admitting to himself that he has absolutely no desire to win. At the starting line, the female participants, Lily, Alice, and Shiria among them, prepare for their leg of the race. Their task is to carry a baton through an obstacle course and deliver it to their male partners. Waiting for them are their partners, Yuri's, Alba, and Mash. Once they receive the batons, they must navigate their own set of obstacles to reach the finish line. With the rules established, Kate Sith signals for the obstacle race to begin. At the signal, the race erupts into motion. Shiria bursts into the lead with explosive speed, while Alice and Lily give chase. For the waiting area, Yuri's calls out encouragement to Alice, and Mash cheers for Lily. Alba, however, remains silent, consumed by the misery of his forced participation. As they run, glowing magic circles flare to life on the track ahead. Kate Sith announces that the course's obstacles are now activating. Suddenly, the ground erupts and a mass of shadowy, grasping hands shoots upwards, startling the competitors. The grasping appendages, identified as magic hands, ensnare Shiria, who struggles against their grotesque touch. Lily, however, remains unfazed. Recognizing them as mere imitations, she calmly begins an incantation. For elements that form the world, bring harmony and peace to my path. She completes her spell, and the four elements manifest around her, parting the shadowy hands like a wave. With a clear path now carved through the obstacle, Kate Sith declares that Lily has taken the lead. Watching her display of power, Yuri's remarks that Lily is quite good. Alba, however, offers a more profound assessment, explaining that she is far beyond merely good. He notes that humans typically have an affinity for one magical attribute at the expense of its opposite. But Lily's ability to command multiple elements marks her as exceptionally talented. He watched, amazed, as Lily manipulated the four basic elements simultaneously and without any apparent struggle. He grunted in grudging acknowledgement, recognizing her skill as befitting a disciple of the sage. Nearby, Shiria noted that they were permitted to use magic, a fact Alice cheerfully confirmed. Inspired by the display, Alice declared that she wouldn't be outdone, shouting the name of her spell, Anima Change. In a puff of smoke, she transformed, reappearing as a small, nimble cat with a mischievous glint in her eyes. Her new form allowed her to deftly weave through the first set of shadowy, grasping obstacles, leaving them reaching for empty air. As Alice cleared the section, Alba's thoughts turned to her tricky magic. He wondered aloud to Yuri's why she hadn't used such skills to avoid being captured by the chimera. Yuri's agreed it was a valid question. Meanwhile, Celia stood ready for her turn, invoking the goddess's protection to purify the wicked power of the obstacles ahead. She then unleashed a brilliant flash of holy light, completely erasing the shadowy tendrils. Alba watched, impressed, recognizing the powerful magic of the saintess and commending her skill. With the path cleared by Celia's divine power, the baton was passed. Mash, her partner, began his run as the next set of obstacles for the boys' group materialized. He didn't get far before a colossal figure erupted from the ground before him, casting a huge shadow over the course. The crowd gasped at the sight of the massive iron golem. Alba and Yuri's watched with grim focus, acknowledging the sheer scale of this new challenge. The focus shifts to the next team. Alice, with Kate Sith perched on her head, playfully calls out to Yuri's, telling him to overcome the iron golem obstacle and pass the baton. Beside him, Alba observes the massive construct and mutters that the task is impossible. In an instant, Yuri's explodes from the starting line, baton in hand, moving with astonishing speed. His velocity startles Alba, who recognizes the display of power. He questions if Yuri's high physical ability is due to magic, recalling it as the same technique used against the chimera. He identifies it specifically as Overboost 1, a first-stage local enhancement. He remembers a lesson from Lily, who explained the complex process. The magic draws energy from an alternate dimension, replicates the phenomenon as an imitation, and assimilates it into the user's body, causing an overflow of power. Alba wryly notes to himself how worked up she gets when it comes to magic. From the sidelines, Kate Sith observes that it is a dangerous magic. Should the energy exceed the user's capacity, it would destroy their body. Yet, Yuri's activated it seamlessly, a feat Kate Sith attributes to true mastery. With his athletic ability and dynamic vision enhanced, Yuri's becomes a blur of motion. He closes the distance to the golem in a heartbeat. As the construct swings its massive arm, Yuri's leaps, planting a foot on its head, but the attack is completely ineffective against the thick armor. Using the ineffective blow as a springboard, he vaults clean over the obstacle. Alba watches, recognizing the technique as the Overboost 1 buff magic, the very secret to the protagonist's strength in the game he once played. Having cleared his section, Yuri's approaches Celia, who is bent over in exhaustion, and passes her the baton. She takes it, apologizing to Alba for the delay. He simply acknowledges her by name. Just as he prepares to run, Elena appears, shouting at him not to stand there spacing out. She demands that he get serious and win, delivering a shocking ultimatum. If he loses, she will expose his true identity to everyone. Alba freezes, a bead of sweat rolling down his face as he processes her words, wondering if she truly means to reveal that he is the villain. He explodes from the starting line in a burst of pure speed. As the announcer, Kate Sith, marvels at the explosive start, his teammates watch intently. Celia cheers him on with wide-eyed excitement, while Shiria smirks, remarking on the spectacle. Elena, however, mutters darkly about his true identity, prompting a nearby student to wonder what she means. Moving with incredible velocity, he closes the distance to the final obstacle, the imposing iron golem. Kate Sith shouts that he's moving just like a lightning bolt. Instead of slowing, he leaps towards the automaton, thrusting the baton forward. He strikes the golem's core, triggering a massive, blinding explosion that engulfs the mechanical guardian. Propelled by the blast, he hurtles towards the finish line, his face a mask of determination as he pushes through the final stretch. He soars across the goal line in a streak of motion. His teammates, Celia, Elena, Shiria, and Lily, all watch the incredible finish with expressions of shock, pride, and relief. As the dust settles, Kate Sith's voice rings out, officially declaring that Al has crossed the finish line, securing victory. Catching his breath, Al crouches in disbelief, muttering to himself that he actually won. From nearby, Yuri's watches him with a newfound respect, acknowledging Al as a worthy rival and admitting he should have kicked his own performance in a high gear sooner. Later, the final results are announced. Kate Sith declares that the group that conquered the first-year division is the Unicorn Group. The news is met with celebration as Shiria joyfully embraces a laughing Celia. After the ceremony, the students reflect on the day. Shiria confidently states that her team won't lose next year, a sentiment Yuri's calmly agrees with. Lily remarks that she got to see some interesting magic, so she supposes it was fun, and Celia quietly affirms. Her quiet agreement gives way to a moment of introspection. Celia looks on with a gentle expression, thinking to herself that they all made some wonderful memories together. As the academy celebrated, Alba stood alone with his thoughts, a realization dawning on him in hindsight. He now understood that the event called the sports festival was never just a competition. It was a flag, a signal for the next occurrence. At the time, he had been completely oblivious to its true purpose. Far from the festivities, in a place cloaked in shadow, a large man with a distinct tattoo on his chin addressed his superior. He reported to Yuru-sama that the festival was over. A voice from the darkness corrected him sharply. Yuru called him an idiot, countering that the festival was only just beginning. Beside them, Milady's lips curled into a knowing smile as she affirmed the statement. Ah, exactly, she purred. From their perch atop a grand building overlooking the city, she elaborated on their true objective. It was all for the sake of their organization, she explained, and to fulfill the long-cherished ambition of Ragnarok. Surrounded by her cloaked and menacing followers, Milady spread her arms wide, her expression one of ecstatic malice as she revealed the final, chilling piece of their plan.